All right, everybody, we're back with another Gallop Run episode. This time, we're looking at the Claim to Fame series tutorial tips and tricks by the best. We got Ryan from Turbo Pixel, owner of Giddy Up. We got Betelgeuse, the legend, the myth, the legend. Come on, it ain't no myth, it's real out here. We got Bryce. He's excited to share everything you need to know about Claim to Fame. I want to introduce everybody. How are you guys doing, guys? Welcome.
Yay!
Doing great, man.
Woo! You're
Thanks
supposed to
for
come on.
thanks,
All
thanks
right,
for
let me
questions.
do that again. How you guys doing, guys?
Doing great.
Doing great.
I'm drunk and I'm getting violent. Let's go.
Awesome. I'm gonna let you, Ryan, take over and start talking about these races because we got a lot of them on the cards tonight. So I'm gonna let you, Beetlejuice, and Bryce just take over, and I'm gonna be manhandling all of that has to do with the chat and all the views and all that. So you guys take it away.
Absolutely. It's been drawn to my attention that we have kind of a good claimer race to jump into. Some pretty interesting things coming off with this Rivers Mosey Juvenile Claiming 2.4K. I think that's kind of where we want to start, and then we'll start just jumping in with this, and then during the downtime maybe shooting the shit a little bit. But we're kind of
Nothing to see here. Next race. Next race.
Yeah, next
nothing,
race.
nothing to see here. Moving on.
Well, this one's kind of jumping out to us for this race in particular for a few reasons. Kind of when looking at my tool and kind of like why I built it a little bit, I wanted a quick way to kind of get a quick evaluation of all the horses in a race. It's kind of evolved over time, adding new data points, but just kind of quickly getting a feel for the overview of an entire race and the horses in it and some of the key metrics that I think are kind of valuable when evaluating horses. So that's kind of why I built the tool. We'll probably dive into it a little bit more, but that's just kind of like what we're looking over, kind of looking over these horses right here in this Rivers Mosey Juvenile Claiming race. And seeing if perhaps sometimes people make an oopsies and shouldn't be entering a horse into such a cheap race. But I mean, everybody knows, I think in the claimer arena who Beetlejuice is. I'm kind of like I don't know what you'd say. I'm maybe the architect that kind of built the United Center, and I can shoot around a little bit, but Michael Jordan played in the United Center, and we got him on the line. So I don't know if I can contribute too much or want to, whenever we got. I don't even know if Michael Jordan wants to give away all of his secrets, but we do got him on the hook. So maybe he can lend some insight into some of the things that he notices whenever evaluating a claimer race.
Yeah, so about that, I don't know if anyone remembers Collins, who did his the pony Inside the Ponies podcast or whatever, but he interviewed a lot of the big stables, and he interviewed me too, and I pretty much laid out everything. I didn't hold anything back. So if there was something I didn't say, it's only because I forgot. But same thing tonight. If you're listening to this, what I tell you is going to be exactly how I attack a race. I'm not holding anything back. And if you want to use it against me, go right ahead. Use my strategy against me. I just think it's better for the whole ecosystem. So I'm gonna answer any question that I'm asked, and I'm gonna tell you what I think, and that's that. So.
Awesome.
Except for this first race, nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I gotcha. So maybe I'll just preliminary kind of like what I think whenever I look at stuff like this. When I'm evaluating these kind of races, right? It's like when I'm looking at these horses, I'm kind of like a morning odds kind of guy. So I'm seeing how they rank up against each other. Obviously I'm looking for some claiming wins if they exist on a horse. I like the podiums. I'm looking at the starts. I'm seeing the benchmark ratings. Literally, I'm just describing everything you see on my screen. I think most of this stuff is kind of valuable information when kind of making your evaluation of horses you want to claim, and the pricing. Right, the 2.4 on this race. I think there is maybe a horse that kind of stands out in this field that's running in this. One of the most recent additions to the site that I added was kind of gives you an overview of the points that a horse has in a series too. So you can see here with this first horse, he's got a point for the claim to fame left dirt gallop. We have one that has 10 points in the claim to fame left dirt gallop. Then we also got another one who hasn't participated in the claim to fame series yet, making their debut, but they also have 3 points in the low stakes showdown gallop. And I find that pretty interesting. You have a horse that can, get some points in the allowance low stakes races. It kind of piques my interest a little bit.
For sure, for sure. How about
Yeah.
you, Beetlejuice? What have you used this site? What immediately sticks out to you that is beneficial to a player that's looking for a claimer? Can you talk about that? I think we
I
lost
use
him.
this site religiously, and one of the things I like, Ryan, if you could just toggle really quick between the two views, what I really like about this is it's got the view that you're seeing now on the stream, which is all the horses and the snapshot of every horse right there. And then there's a way you could toggle it where it's just like a list, like an Excel file. And depending on how you want to go about it, um, either view works best. I'm right now, yeah, that's the other view. And that's super helpful because you could use that to search by whatever your criteria is. Usually I use that to search in the old way when it was a claimer leaderboard, I would just use this view and I would click on the claimer wins and I would search by claimer wins and I would just track the horses that way on the top. But if you can go back to the other view for a second, because that's the one I'm using this season, which is the visuals. And then
A
as
little
soon
bit of a
as
lag coming along.
okay, that's cool. So I'll just talk about what I'm seeing on my screen. So the one with the visuals is perfect because it has every single piece of information that you need about a horse. The first thing I go to really quick is I look at the podium percentage. Um, and people are going to want to create their own set of benchmarks, not use mine per se, because I will tell you there's a little bit of a flaw in my system. My system is I don't even look at a horse unless it's got a 50% podium percentage. And when that happens, I miss a lot because a lot of times, especially with younger horses, they're run at the wrong distance. So like they tank their first three races, but then they come on strong. So they could be like a 40% podium percentage, but the last two were wins. And I might miss them because I'm only looking for 50%. So the next thing I look at right away. So on this one, on Felix Rodeo, you got a 6.7% podium percentage. So small sample size, but it's 2 out of 3. So already that's piqued my interest. The next thing I do is I go down and I look at the morning line odds. The morning line odds on this are good. It's the second favorite. So now I want to look at this horse. So I'll open up the horse. I'll look at its past races. I'll look at it. And from there, you want to really start looking at, was it always the morning line favorite? What were the other races? Were they tough competition? Were they on the same distance preference? But this screen that you're looking at now has all the information. I look at stars. I look at podium percentage. I look at the record. I look at morning line odds. I look at the benchmark rating and the average fleet figure because that's important. 80 and 77 for an S plus is good. If you look at the one to the left of it, it's got a 71 and a 69. Is that because the horse is terrible or is that because the horse is running the wrong distance? I don't know. I'm not looking to find out because I don't have unlimited amounts of time. 71 is a pretty bad fleet figure for an S plus, so I won't even bother looking at that one. And then the new feature that Giddy Up added last season, which was freaking amazing, is it tells you all the points for all the free rolls that a horse has. And that is just, everyone should be looking at that at the very least, because that'll tell you, exactly where the horse has been running, how it's been doing. And a lot of times you'll see pretty big numbers down there. You'll see horses that are already qualified for a free roll. And that is just, I mean, the expected value on a horse like that is really, really strong. You could make back the claim price and then some just on that one race.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, you
go ahead.
you, You just touched on something really interesting that we saw a lot of last season. People literally claimed horses for 1200 Derby, 2400 Derby, literally 2 days before the free rolls ran. Like they were clearly above the cut line. So this feature on here certainly helps people pick those out. And I know the claiming window is about to end on this specific race, but it's a very unique race because three of them have points. Granted, it was already said one of them isn't even in this series. But there's definitely ways to look at horses right on PFL as well without having to use outside tools. Now, the outside tools are great because they consolidate everything into one area. So that's why I wanted to make sure to kind of go through this for any new players that are joining that can kind of look at this here and see how you can use some of these tools. But I will, when you have a little more time here, kind of walk through this field, kind of handicapping it just on the PFL side, because it's certainly something you can easily do there. And kind of what I do is I paper trade because I'm not allowed to claim or race horses or anything. So I get entertainment paper trading, and it's awesome to kind of see fields like this where there's one, maybe two, you can convince me potentially three that are worth at least really looking at. But yeah, so I'll let you guys keep going here, but I just wanted to just jump in there and point out the overlay that certainly sits there, especially as the season kind of goes, where horses are running that in these races that you claim them and they're immediately in the finals, 2 days later, kind of thing.
Yep.
I mean, I'm all for hearing how you would handicap these horses. What do you think? Yeah, the claim's already ended, so claiming period. Okay. So nobody can claim anymore.
Yeah. So again, anything I'm going to say, I've got to hit you with the standard, NFA, all that sort of stuff, and anything I'm going to talk about here tonight, I'm going to comment on just looking at the stuff we're looking at here. So if you want to just kind of click through, Ryan, just literally horse by horse, or actually click on Felix Rodeo first, since claim period's over. We'll look at him first into why, in my opinion, he would be an automatic claim in this race.
Yep, clicking on it might just I don't know how quick the visuals are.
Yeah, we'll have the lag here, but obviously the first thing you see when you click on a horse that comes up is going to be their race history. And a real quick look at this horse. First race was a maiden, it ran 6th. Second race was a 7 furlong maiden, and it got first out of 9. And then it ran a non-winner 2 stakes race, so running in the low series. But if we actually look at those 2 maiden races that it ran, you will pretty quickly see, even though it didn't do that great in the first one, full field, it had a morning line odds of 11. So, not bad, certainly in line kind of with everything else. There was a few other ones in there, obviously, that have won and have moved on, and most of the ones that are ahead of it already have a couple of podiums on the place. So that's one thing to check, that first maiden. The second one that it actually won, it was the morning line favorites in those races. So that's something that kind of jumps out. It's racing its other S plus, which typically are what we're going to be racing against in the series, especially in the lower amounts. You'll see a few SS minus pop into the older ones, and that's another look that we'll kind of talk about here. But it was the morning line favorite in that maiden win, and then you look at the stakes. Now this is a weird path. It's not a typical path, but you have an S plus coming in, running a stakes race and smashing kind of everybody else. And then you start looking at the race record of the horses that it beats, factoring in that it's an allowance. And the horses that it beat in second and third are really, really nice looking stakes horses. Like they're five races, 4 podiums, 4 races, 3 podiums. I mean, it's looking like he beat a pretty competitive field here, and not just beat. When you actually look at the fleet figures, you see that 81 in a stakes race, and it's got to kind of get you interested, because remember, the fleet figure ran in a race is not affected by the weight. The weight is what applies after, and that's how in that race you could see an S minus that lost, even though its fleet figure was 11 points higher than the A plus. That's where the weight gets applied, is basically in the time and the finish. But the fleet figure is still pure, so to speak. So when we keep looking at Felix Rodeo, the one thing I always check, I click on Fleet Figures, and it's only a 2-year-old, so it's not going to have it. But I always click that little trend button, and that'll come in a little more play when we look later at some 3-year-olds that have a bunch of races. And I'll show you kind of how to quickly just look and get rid of a bit of noise there, because that does tell a story as well. But again, looking at Felix Rodeo, if you look at its bloodline as well and kind of see the parents, it's a wild breed. It's a wild breed. It's an S minus stud to an S minus mare. But that S minus mare, it is wild. But again, when we kind of look at some of the Fleet Figures we've seen in the range that we're racing at here, it's had a good one at 7, a good one pop at 9. To me, that's telling us they're kind of on the trajectory of knowing where to race this horse. I'm betting they're right on there. I'm betting it's between a 7 and a 9 furlong for its best distance, just based on kind of what we've seen there and what we see in the bloodline for the dad. That hitting any kind of wick towards those middle there, any of the first 3 really is going to produce pretty nice. So I like this horse. This is a 9 furlong race, I believe. So I think this has probably got the distance preference between 8 and 9 is my guess. So I think it's going to be on prep, which is going to help it win. And when you compare that to, let me just make sure I kind of covered everything I wanted. You look at the stars, obviously, that matter, and they're pretty decent for what we're looking at here. 5.5 stars on the first 2. So to me, this horse is probably one that should get claimed. And then part of the equation you always have to factor in when you're racing or claiming a horse, what am I going to do with it next? And I think that question, you could race it more 200.4s, but again, I think it's an auto claim there. And, at a 5K claimer, would I be comfortable throwing this horse in with these here? Yeah. I mean, that stakes race, like I said, is a very abnormal way to get there. But that tells me there's something there. I mean, if you've got some risk tolerance, I wouldn't necessarily hide away from a stakes race if that's something you're looking at for the rising stars. But at bare minimum, I think this horse is going to be able to slap into the 5K, 7,500K claimers and do pretty well based on this.
Man, well said. That was a tremendous amount of information. Thank you. And I'm kind of aligned with you too. Like whenever you're talking, like kind of picking out the distances and whatnot, right? It's like, it ran a 6, probably too short for it. Ran a 73 Fleet Figure. Whoops. And then it ran a 7 and hit a 79, and then hit the 9 and hit an 81. So I like your valuation whenever you're coming to distances, and I think I use Fleet Figures obviously to determine distances myself. So yeah, I think you nailed it.
So can we look at what's the one with 10 points in it? Quick Step as well.
Yep.
And my screen just froze up. My screen just froze up here, so I'll have to just kind of go off a bit. Quiet Step, yeah. If you look at Quiet Step's race history, it's the one that's already won a claiming race. So we see that. We see the maidens. And again, my screen's froze on me here, so I'm just going to keep talking until somebody tells me to shut up. I don't think this race is kind of where its distance preference is. If you look at the Fleet Figures it's tossing, they're all pretty good. I'm not saying it's bad, but you kind of look at those 12s and 11s, and even though it has the first at 9, I think it's probably egging up towards kind of the later, the 10, 11-ish place for its preferred distance. So, but again, this horse has 10 points qualifying for this race. So if you actually look at the leaderboard and see where it's at, and we're in a small field here too, I mean, it could potentially be some easy pickings for points. And then Frosted Crown was another one that I saw on this, and that was kind of the third one I was referencing. And it doesn't look terrible either. I mean, I think who's going to win this race, 9 furlong, we're looking at either Frosted Crown or the one we were talking about earlier. So, and that's part of the skill too, is being able to, who's going to win. Like, you're looking at this race, well, who's going to get the points out of this? Because that could, especially as we go, that could drastically change what they're looking at as far as the race goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so these ones are. It's an interesting field that shows up a little different than a lot of them. But I mean, even Moody Chick in this one. I mean, if you look at the bloodline of that horse,
Okay.
again, I don't think it's on preference here at 9. I think just looking at the blood and what we've seen for results, it did just pop a maiden win. You know, this horse, I see that bloodline. I see those fleet figures trending up as we start looking at the bloodline. I'm thinking there's something into that finish rating there. I mean, downside, you're looking probably an SS minus if you're just kind of using an average, but you might have popped an SS finish, which it's all Moody Chick is also female, which also
Yup.
breeds to the other equation of claiming is do I
Thank you.
think the attributes are there to have potential breeding value? And this might be one where the answer could be yes.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get to. We had not gotten to number 2 is a female, which you could also use for future stuff if you like to use that type of horse or you going for that type of archetype. And number 2, I also seen that the number 3 horse has a lot of good podium on the progeny of that sire that it came out of Quit Step.
Yep.
So I really like the 3 here. Let's see and it's a small field. That's why I'm going with the 3. So let's see what happens.
The five's gonna win this race. Come on.
I don't know. It might have something to do with the field size in this one, and it may not perform the way it's supposed to. But I agree, it's the strongest horse in the race by far. So hopefully it gets the job done. Here they go.
And Carter did point out as well in some of the notes he sent me, in this race, the claiming price, it's only 1,600 Derby less than what the breed costs. And I mean, that's the funny thing is as you're kind of looking at these breed costs. I mean, you got to remember if it's an external breed, they cost 4K and they're running in 2,400. If it's an internal, I mean, as you talk about what your breeding plans are, and we'll talk more strategy wise, running in this race, potentially against a lighter field, I mean, it gets claimed you've covered your cost on an internal breed. So lots of things to look at, which is the fun here.
Agreed. That's a great point too.
They're battling for sure. They're all pretty bunched up right now with Moody Chick. Talked about there at the end. With recent nice fleet figures. The only thing I did not like about this horse that I seen was in the progeny is not that extensive, and unfortunately it doesn't have that much podiums. I think this is the only horse that's podium out of that progeny from that sire from Moody Chick. So something I looked at beforehand. Let's see what happens here. We're all gonna look like crazies.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes.
Let's see. Maybe the
Who's
smart
got
guy.
the finish?
Maybe the smart guy
Who's
here
got the
is the guy that handicapped every day. Hey, GG's guy though. Quit Step. I think it was a little too much today for number 5.
There you go.
Yeah, and it
And
had
now
points.
Quickstep's got
And it
20
had
qualifying
points.
points.
It had like everything
Hey,
that I wanted to see. It had points. It was doing good. It's a small group, so it's not gonna be tested. I'll let you guys take it away and see what else you guys seen.
I want to know what Beetle thinks about that sire on that horse.
I did notice that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I look at that, and Bryce, as soon as you said that you think that Quiet Step is an 11-12, I absolutely disagree. I think Quiet Step is a 9-10.
Okay.
I think Inauguration Day kind of makes mostly gallop to 10 furlong horses. I know he made one, I think. Oh no, that was that of my mare. But I think that, and if you look at its previous races, it looked like it was struggling a little bit in those later races, right? So, fleet figure wise, you can go by speed, you can go by time, you can go by fleet figure. Fleet figure, the best of all 5 races it put in was at 9 furlongs. it put in what I'd consider to be low fleet figure scores at 11 and 12, even with the 73 and 74. So I think that Guy Stable's move to move this horse down in distance was probably a good one, especially because the sire has the SS minus speed, but a dip in the stamina, and the mare also didn't have high stamina. So that's why I'm thinking that even though the finish is probably pretty strong, it might not have enough to get to 11 and 12. And I think this race kind of showed it. I'd be interested to see what the fleet figure came in on this race. You know, it is a small field, but this is exactly what I was talking about before, which is horses that I miss. Like, and Bryce picked up on this one. This one wasn't even on my radar, but it's a very good horse. It's a very good horse that was probably running the wrong distance for its first 3 races. So it's only got 1 podium in 5 races. But if you look at its races on distance preference, it's got 2 podiums in 2 races, right? If we think it's a 9. If it's a true gallop horse and it's an 8-9, which is where I'd run this horse next, maybe I'd run this horse at 8 and 10 just to kind of see. If it's a true gallop horse at 8 and 9, then it's 100% podium rate already, and it could actually be better at 8 than at 9. So that's just one of the things to consider. But when you're looking at every horse in every race, like I am for most of the day, there's only so deep you can get, and I'm not going to go Bryce's deep dive. I'm not going to be able to do that on every single horse. So I think it's important for people to kind of come up with their own strategy as far as, do they just want to look at a couple races and go deep into every horse and really nail one that they think they have confidence in? Or do they want to cast a wide net and knowing that they'll miss some? And I definitely miss some for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of exactly what we're going to do tonight as we kind of move forward here. Deep dive a few. Nobody claimed Quiet Step. That's crazy. And now that horse has 20 points and is well on its way to being in the free roll. So Felix Rodeo did get claimed. I'm curious how many claims it had on it. Again, I think Robbie had a great point on it as far as and look at the people claiming the horse was Betelguese and Gramps. They kind of and Red Stables
and Red,
which are 3 of the absolute best claiming stables out there. So probably not a coincidence. But yeah, no, we're going to kind of go through, and obviously Ryan's tool is going to be a huge boon that people can use for that. But I won't be using that as we go through, and we're just going to kind of look at some races and, okay, what jumps out? Like, what's my quick tell that it's something I would look at? And Betelgeuse will give us that too. And you'll develop your own strategy, because obviously very few people have the time to go through in crazy depth like we do, or like we did on that first one. But we wanted to do that, and we'll do that in a few places, or just pick one horse to dig kind of in and really give you a way that you can kind of look at horses differently. I've got 4 steps that I look at really quick, or like a couple things that'll flag me, and then, okay, what's step 2, 3, 4? And yeah, that's an interesting horse. Move on. And so we're going to kind of go through that process. But yeah, that's the first race, perfect example. Quiet Step had already won a race at that distance. It was a small field, just like this one. So potentially, it's one that's going to benefit from small fields quite a bit, and it's well on its way to the free roll already. I mean, it's probably going to pick up maybe a couple more points, maybe not. Like, it might just be there after this early, and somebody could have had it for 2,400. So
I think this is a great. I think this is a great time to point out another feature on Giddy Up, which is the alerts. And I'm kind of only half paying attention because now I'm putting alerts on Quiet Step, so that when Quiet Step enters, if Quiet Step enters another claiming race, Red, I hope you're listening. I have an alert on your horse. So Red's smart though. That horse won't see 2.4 again. I know it. So then the question becomes, how much does Red want to push it, and how much do people want to pay? And that's the dance that is really claimers, is how low do you think you can get away with racing a horse versus how high do you want to race it to protect it? And then every once in a while, it doesn't matter where you price a horse. If someone wants your horse, they're going to claim it. And it really doesn't even matter.
And I think, like, whenever you look at different tools across the ecosystem, like, I'm not the only one who's done something with claimers. MJ Informatics, great website, also has a claiming corral. He's putting, from the screenshots he's put on Twitter, he's putting in a lot of work to add a lot more information to that site. I think the only reason that my site is a little bit separated from those is you do require an account to sign up. It's free, not charging. It's free because you all can probably thank Betelgeuse as someone who has hooked it up with the donations and kept it manageable from my point of view via funds. But one of the nice features I think is like this big red icon on some of these on the screen and the horses is if you click that button or you come to the alerts page and copy and paste like a photo finish link from the marketplace or the horses and you click submit, like you just said with Quiet Step, you're gonna get an email alert, right? Anytime that horse gets put into another claiming race, you will get an email that says, "Hey, the horse that you put an alert on is in a race now." And I think that is like, and I built this tool and I put these alerts and I put these email alerts in because this is the tool that I wanted. Whenever claiming was first thought of, I kind of made the tool. And it just kind of sat idle for a while. It kind of had this overview with the horse pictures and some data in here. But whenever the leaderboards rolled around, I was like, okay, I need to know when these horses are being entered because I want to keep an eye on them, and I need an alert system to tell me whenever these horses are being misraced or mispriced in the claiming. So that's kind of the origin of the tool. And I was like, you know what? I'm a nice guy. I'll help everybody else out with PFL because when PFL succeeds, I succeed. So a little bit of one of the features behind Giddy Up that's kind of unique is the ability to set alerts and get an email on any horses that you want that are in claiming races.
That sounds awesome. Awesome. Now, Graham says, can you up my number of notifications, please? um, I was gonna.
Yeah, all right. I'll say this: there is an unlimited tier, and Beetlejuice has been generous enough to the site to earn a badge into the unlimited tier.
Okay.
But there's limits for a reason in the beginning, so I can monitor the efficiency, the resources used. I think at this point in time, I can definitely increase those limits. So be on the lookout for a tweet about that.
Awesome. So you guys go ahead and keep looking at these races. I'm gonna step away real quick to get a grab something to eat real quick and a drink. But I want you guys to discuss this at maximum when I come back. I want to hear which horse should I claim if I were to claim a horse. Why should I claim it? Like we talked about before, some things you need to look at. Podium rate, Beetlejuice talked about. That's one of his main things. But again, don't just focus on that. Make sure you review everything. I saw somebody in the chat say if you're not going to review it thoroughly, then you're probably just tossing your money away. So you don't want to just, especially if it's more than a 1.6 claimer, you don't want to just throw your money away by just saying, hey, I like this coat and I'm going to claim this horse. You kind of want to do your due diligence. We're very helpful in the community where you can ask somebody like Beetlejuice for help. Like, hey, what do you think about this horse? And they'll gladly help you. Even Giddy Up is always around and always able to help. So go ahead, guys, take it away. Let's look at the next race.
Yeah, absolutely. Bryce, what do you want to take a look at? We'll load it up.
Pull it up on your tool. The next one that's coming up, the Dawn Trist allowance. I just want to hear kind of what you guys would look at on the tool. If there's anything jumping out at you guys from that one, and then
we can definitely jump into the tool if we need to. I don't want to bogart this and make it all about that. Like PFL is good. He's got good stuff and information too. So,
all right. So here's what I'm looking at. So if you want to pull up the field here's my kind of first quick step of what I'm looking at in this race is on the race screen, we see the list of horses. Yeah, you're looking at morning line odds. I'm looking at the benchmark ratings they've got established. That's something there. And obviously stars. And there's some interesting ones in here. Name America beat the first horse there. if we take a look at that, so my screen has stopped freezing now. So the American Butte, 3 races haven't hit a podium yet. They've kind of gone 5, 7, 9 stakes allowance, claiming it hasn't shown up really kind of anywhere yet, but it's got the lowest morning line odds in this race. So what do we take from that, if anything? If I look back at, unfortunately, the stakes allowance are going to be a lot, but if I just look back at that last claiming race, the 5K that it was in, I can see there, again, it finished last, but morning line odds there too. It was the second highest morning line odds. So there's obviously something here that we like. And when we click on the bloodline of the horse, I thought this was going to be another Beetlejuice ad, but it's not. So that's good. We do see that the highest likely, again, just purely taking an average, looking at the attributes of the parents. We're looking at a short distance runner. Start and speed are both S plus on both, so likely where it's going to fit in at. The races this ran, the fleet figure it topped was a 7, so we're probably 6-ish, 7-ish for where this horse is at. So I think it's running probably pretty close on preference. We haven't seen anything yet to kind of tell us we need to look at this horse. So it's a female, which is always nice. It's got pretty good stars, so that's nice as well. I want to see something though before I'm seriously kind of looking at that horse. So we go down, next horse on there is Trotsky's. We see quickly 3 races. It's got a 2nd place. So we look at the races it's been running in, and it too went to allowances early. So we're going to be able to get a little bit of information purely out of the fleet figures. There is what I'm looking at. And then it did go to a 7 in a claiming race and finished 2 of 4. So again, tough to tell. One thing we obviously jumps out at me on this horse: 3 stars left, 3 stars turf, and then your soft is 1.5. But if you keep this horse in a yielding and maybe even some soft range, we'd be all right. And when you look at that last race that I got 2nd out of 4 in, that was on a good track. So to me, I'm going to want to look and say, okay, was it running against other soft horses in that race? Spoiler alert, it was. So it's less concerned. But if it was beating firm horses, maybe there's a little bit more. But again, even in that race, we kind of saw the money line drop down a little bit. It ran against Gold Desert, who we actually just watched in that last race. And the horse that beat it in that race, Phil in the Country, is a real nice looking 2-year-old. It's been running like crazy. Oh, of course, Beetlejuice has it now. So he claimed it at some point there, and yeah, the horse has been killing it on the track, winning allowance races.
Wow. Mr. Beetlejuice.
Which horse?
I should ask it. Phil in the Country was the one that was from a different race. Look at
Oh yeah, that horse, dude. That was a great claim. Are you kidding me? Phil in the Country's crushing.
We talked about that one.
Yeah. So again, this is Trotsky. It looks all right. The morning line odds look all right. I think we're running at the right spot. If we click on current series races, and this is something fun in case people haven't seen this, it'll show the races that it has ran in so far, as well as its points and the cut lines in those races. So we real quickly see, click on current series races when you're looking at the horse.
Okay. Gotcha. Sorry.
So if you go to Trotsky's.
Yeah, I got you. Oh, wait. I'm looking at Phil in the Country, who has points everywhere.
Yeah, that horse, by the way, is a 6-7, which is making things really difficult because it's got to run in 2 different qualifiers for 2 different free rolls. It's got to run the sprints and the gallops.
Thanks for the first world problem, sir.
My horse is good everywhere. I can't stand it.
So Frosted Crown is in this race, so that one will work too. Oh, you're looking at the past race. We're looking at the Don Trice Juvenile claiming, the one that runs claimants.
It's a little lag. I got you.
Okay, but yeah, if we click on, when we're looking at a horse, if we click on current series races, it's going to show the series that a horse has currently ran in this season. And that's going to show us here that Trotsky's, it's got 4 points in the Claim to Fame series, and the cut line is 2. It's ran in the low stakes showdown at left turf, doesn't have any points, and it shows those cut lines too. So it's just a different way to kind of, hey, where has this horse ran? And this is kind of a long-winded way of saying, in this specific race, I haven't seen a horse that I would immediately jump at. Gold Desserts is a slightly interesting one, simply because it's already podium twice. The stars are decent enough. The claiming race that it did podium in, the 6 furlong, it got second out of 9, is kind of what makes you say, huh? It popped out of 79, fleet figure in that. Again, you look at the field there, it lost to Fill in the Country. So it's ran against good horses and done all right there. So to me, in this race, the best horse is probably Gold Desert. And I say that, again, it's got some points in the Sprint series. It's got some points in the Gallop series. So they're not totally sure where to run it yet. And again, when you look at Bloodline for something else to consider, you see a real nice, definitely pockets where it could be nice. And when we start seeing that, we're already seeing a decent 6-ish range. And then you see that SS start on the dad, SS speed on the mom. You start wondering if some of that hit. And then you factor in the heart of SS minus of both parents. And, all right, I wonder how this horse.
There you go.
I wonder how this horse could potentially do if we start looking at, maybe some stakes races, things like that. As you kind of look at other ways. With the next question, if you're claiming a horse, where are you going next? Yeah, I could see maybe racing this one up to 5K and doing all right. It raced in 1 5K already. Didn't do well, but that also came out on a 6-horse field. It went 5 out of 6. So again, there's concern. I don't think it's a slam dunk horse, but of any horse in this race, that's kind of the one that intrigues me. And then you start looking in the race that it did finish 5th out of 6th, and look at the horses ahead of it, and you're like, again, you see Fill in the Country. There's an IWR Scarlet race in there that's 2 races, 2 wins. So you can kind of dig in further and look at different things purely on the page without using the third-party tools. But I would be remiss if you're looking to make it quick. The third-party tools are absolutely the way to go.
Yeah, but also, Bryce, the third-party tool is a great screener, but you absolutely have to go to the PFL site from there and dig in. And here's a perfect example of this. Let's look at the 5-horse in that race. Money My Honeybee.
Working on it.
The 5-horse, Money My Honeybee, because that's one I want to talk about. Now, I don't have any claims in on this race. I think the price point for what all these horses have shown so far is not worth it to me. But, talking about what Viper said and what Bryce said, you absolutely have to dig deep on these, because if you look at this horse, it's got 1 win in 5 races. But if you look at the first maiden, it ran at 8 furlongs. It had good morning line odds, but a crappy fleet figure. Okay, so it's not an 8 furlong horse. The next 2 maidens, it did very poorly. It ran in open maidens. It ran in fields that were mostly SS minuses on those second maidens. So that's 3 races right off the bat that you can throw out. Those races, in my mind, don't exist for that horse. They only exist for the purposes of discovering distance preference. So now you have a 6 furlong soft, 4 out of 5, not great, but a 73 fleet figure. Okay, that's a decent fleet figure for a juvie. That could be on distance preference. Back it up with the 5 furlong good, where it won with a 75. And this horse at 6 is looking like it's probably pretty much on distance preference. It's 1.5 soft stars, so I'd be watching to see if this is a horse that could actually run on sloppy or not. But like I said, this horse isn't worth a claim to me because there's too much uncertainty. But this horse, I think, is dialed in already on distance preference. It's somewhere in the 4 to 6 range. I'd like to see it at 4. I'd like to see more 5, 6 soft yielding kind of stuff. But to me, I think this is the horse that is probably going to podium this race. I mean, that's not a very ambitious call, but this is the horse that intrigues me the most, that I would probably set an alert on and kind of watch it. Not to mention the fact that it's a Hand of Zedge horse.
There you
So
go. That's what I was
been,
eyeballing.
It's been bred by a House of Zedge mare, and Zedge, as we know, has developed very, very strong bloodlines. And I don't want to give the wrong attribution. I'm not 100% sure who he has jockeying for him for this stable, but I know he's good. I think
Colts
it's Colts guy.
Colts guy.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
That he's a good jockey. So he knows what he's doing. I'm a little bit surprised to have him run those open maidens, but heck, we've all forgotten to click exact grade on maidens. I've entered S minuses and S plus maidens, and we've all done it.
We've all done it.
But Colts guy knows what he's doing, so this is a good horse that's getting dialed in quickly. It's one that I'd be interested in, and if it does win this race, I don't think you'll see it in a 1.2 or 2.4 either.
So I have a few additional points here. You mentioned the open maidens. I'm pretty sure that's by design, because that stable, specifically Hand of Zedge, they want to find out, can this horse compete in majors, and that's why they kind of run the maidens that way. Because if the answer is no, which the first two maidens, even first three maidens have kind of told us no, then they'll slap it in claimers. So I think that's by design. The one thing I will disagree with you about slightly, I think this is a 4 furlong horse, true and true. You look at the bloodline, that SS start on the dad, the S start on the mom. You look at the fleet figures that it's tossing here that get higher seemingly as it gets shorter in distance. Again, throw the maidens out. If we look at claimers, which is more apple to apple, and I realize that even that 5 furlong that was the 75, its best fleet figure, that was on a good track too. And this is a soft horse. I think this is a potentially really nice 4 furlong horse. So I don't know that we're going to see it in the top 2 on this one, because I think actually looking at the other ones, they're a little more on distance preference. If this was a 4 furlong race, I would bet the farm on this horse.
Well, get ready to be surprised, boys.
I think I said 4 to 6 in that range. It definitely could be a 4. The problem is dialing in a 4 furlong horse is hard. First of all, you're running claimers, so I think that skews the fleet figures a little bit. Second of all, the variance on 4 furlong races is so high. You really need to hammer 4 furlongs a number of times before you could really dial in on a 4 furlong horse. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 4-5 with the strength at 4, or even a 4 only. I think you're right about that for sure.
Well, and I think that's why I would be a little more confident if this was the horse I was going to claim, that I will be able to run it at 5-2, simply because it has. I mean, that last 2.4 claimer it ran, it won at 5, and that was on good track too. So it already popped the fleet figure you're wanting to look there. So I think it can run on 5, but it could be a really good 4 furlong racer, which there's obviously opportunities within that for those to hit. The juvenile series, and I'll just use this to segue, the juvenile series, the final distances are always 5, 8, and 11. So those all sync up. But then when they turn 3+, it'll rotate kind of through the different, short distance, mid distance, long distance of the longer funnels. So it's a long way of saying every horse is going to have a chance at least once in its first 3 years to run on the nuts, so to speak, as far as distance preference. So, but I think this race is getting ready to run, isn't it?
About 2 minutes.
2 minutes away.
Well, I hope people.
2 minutes.
I hope people got their pen and paper out. I love it. This is good. This is good deep diving content.
For sure.
Well, it's so much. I mean, now the Y claimers, we can talk about that, and I know you guys have heard me say it a lot. As we've tried to simplify the game, simplify the structure. The feature races, as I call them, Rising Stars, Majors, High Court Classic, they all follow roughly the same process flow, right? Like you have your non-winner races, your stakes races, your graded races. Graded have more. These are the big ones. They've all got undercards. The next step to that, to kind of align with real life, really, like I think it's 70% of races that run in the U.S. are claiming races, because they're the great equalizer as far as talent. Now, obviously, we have different grades in PFL, which throws things askew a little bit. But you're racing. It's a spot to race the horses that aren't the best, and we do have the low stakes showdown, obviously as well. That's kind of a more or less an allowance series. Yes, there's stakes races that have weights and stuff, but really trying to build that mindset in that. Okay, I've got this right now. The meta is F plus horse who isn't good enough to run stakes for Rising Stars or majors or whatever it is, but it's I think it's better than allowances. So you'd have a place to race that in the higher end claimers, or if it's not good enough for allowances, you can race it in the low end claimers. But we're starting to see kind of the fields separate a little bit as we go through. I know there's been a few SS minuses and 5Ks. I saw one in a 1.2K, and that had like 40 claims on it. But and those will start showing up here. But it's really claiming races are the great equalizer as far as fields go. And I understand, and I don't want to come off dismissive because I understand people are breeding up, or they have a certain bloodline they're paying attention to, or they've just got all these freaking horses. And where do I run them? Where the Claim to Fame series gives you that opportunity. And if your horse isn't good enough to run in the 1,200 claimers, because there are those, those are those are projects. Those are ones you can throw in the 400 claimers that run for nothing to try to just get somebody else to claim them, or chuck them in a hardcore for a jackpot. Or if there's blood that you want to keep them. But the one thing that so many people have to get past, in my opinion, is how they're using the claiming races. Like, okay, my horse is getting stomped at these $1,200 claimers. What do I do? Well, the easy answer is claim the horse that's stomping and that has points, and that you're already in the free roll and you can play that game. And when you know what the next step is, because that should be something you always ask is, okay, I'm going to claim this for 1,200. Can it run in 2,400? Well, if it's won a stakes race, horse's first race, a pretty good chance it's going to be able to. Whether it does right there, especially as 2-year-olds, is we don't have a clue really about their aging at this point, and we'll look at some 3-year-old races, but that's just it's a different mindset that you need to have. That your horses are expendable in a lot of ways. Like don't be married to a horse unless there's a reason to be married for it. Because you can pop in one of these races, grab a horse that's significantly better than yours, and your stable has leveled up instantly and like crazy. So just a way to look at it is you're kind of building your stable out, making plans, and use this opportunity to change your stable and just make it better, like just better horses. So that's never a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think just like by the way, Bryce, my 5-horse just died at the 5 furlong mark, so maybe it's a 4. maybe it's a 4 only. So I don't know, but someone in the chat, Cody Gibbons, I don't know how that is, but he mentioned that people are always sniping my claimers at the end of the season, and it pays for my maidens going into the next season. Like managing claimers, losing horses to a claimer isn't necessarily a bad thing. Claimers provide a lot of liquidity to the ecosystem. And it's a way for you to, maybe move on from a horse that you like, don't love, and get some money to either to breed or to fund your racing for the next season or whatever the case may be. So, like, people always said, oh, my horse won that race and got claimed, I got sad. I'm like, why? You just got paid twice. You got paid the first place prize and you got paid the claiming fee. Like, now do something with that.
Yeah, or
exactly.
You didn't even win, and you still got the claim. Just like the other, we just watched the race where we were raving about Felix Rodeo, and it didn't win, and it got the claim. So who knows? You might be selling at the right time as well. So go ahead, giddy up.
Dude, I don't even know, man. I'm letting the experts take the reins.
Damn, Gramps won that race. Now he's going to be insufferable.
Hey, did you see that? Hey, this is what I want to know, Beetlejuice. That mare was yours. What happened to that horse?
So I bought this mare from Gramps after he had this foal. So I've still got her.
Ah, there you go.
I think I've her listed for sale. Yeah. Oh, because I got what I wanted out of her. I got a 7.5 pref S plus filly out of her. which is a huge roll up on Stars. So now I'm looking to move on from her. But I think, that's another thing, right? I've got 50 or 60 S plus left turf mares. I can't possibly breed them all. So I got what I wanted out of this mare. I list her on the marketplace for what I think is a good price, 500 Derby. You see what she can produce. And maybe someone uses that as a jumping on point and is able to get to get a good mare at a good price and breed it and hopefully get the same kind of upgrade.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. A lot of ways to play this game for sure.
Yeah, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. Who is that ran? It was Gold Desert. But if you look, you don't have to look at. I'll just say it. The two horses, the two foals above Gold Desert, the 3-year-old and the 4-year-old that Gramps bred with Desert Sunset, are both from Morbid, who is a horse that Gramps got in a 400 Derby claimer and ended up coming in 3rd in the Harbor Classic. So a 400 Derby claimer. Right? It was back. No, it was a long time ago. It was back in season 25, actually. 400 Derby claimer, kind of 128,000 Derby.
Yeah, and I mean those stories are every season. They're every season.
Yeah, every season.
Beetlejuice, you had one last season. Claim for was it 1,200 or 2,400? You got 3rd in a major. Like
1,200 and got 3rd in the Artemis Cup Sprint. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Gramps just tagged me in something too. Like I think he had something similar happen to him too. This past season, he claimed something for like 1,200 and it placed in a major. So if you can dedicate a little bit of time to to PFL and breaking down these races and listening to experts like Beetle and Bryce, you can find gems.
Yeah, I mean that's so, and Beetlejuice and I argue about this all the time. I mean, if you claim a horse, regardless of the claim level that you are really high on, I mean, try the thing in stakes, even if it is an S plus. I mean, we see it happen every season, and I want to point out a horse if you can pull up named Rizen, Rizen.
Oh, it sounds like it's near and dear to his heart.
No, it was on a Sunday that I was away from my computer for the whole day, and that's when that horse ran. And now Carmeline got
Proclaimer. And people were interested in that horse. It only had a couple claims on it: Red, Emerald, and Carmeline. But I mean, you can real quickly see, based on what we already talked about. I mean, you go out and win a maiden, you get 4th out of 11 in a stakes race, and then you get put in a 2,400 claimer. I mean, that to me, it's an easy claim. That's an easy claim. And then he turns around and runs it in another stakes qualifier. I think it was this morning, actually, he ran it and popped an 82 fleet figure and won. And, and he's already talking Kentucky Derby with his horse next season. Obviously a long ways to go before we get there, but yeah, I mean, you look at the stakes race that it won here earlier today, and this is why I said, like, take that chance if you get something you like, because what did we have here? 7 of the 8 horses in this were S pluses. I mean, there's still opportunities there. Yes, we're aware that, and this is one of the archetypes where they're pretty much there's a lot of SS minuses running, but you can get them in and you don't know. Like, he could have messed around with claimers, maybe had it get claims, maybe messed around with an allowance, and you're still not sure. I mean, if there's a horse you like, don't be scared to take that chance just to see. But yeah, I mean, Rizen was one that I saw mentioned this morning, so I wrote it down. I mean, and yeah, Carmeline obviously knows what he's doing. And you look at the bloodlines on this horse, you don't see anything jump off the page, right? Like, the mom and dad are okay. I mean, yeah, 3 of the 4 grandparents are S's. Like, nothing bloodline jumps off the page at you, and that's part of why the morning line odd is what it is for this horse. But at some point, performance has to matter, right? Because again, you look at the bloodlines, this wouldn't be a horse I'd say, oh yeah, you need to claim it. Never mind, it's a filly, which is nice. But again, you look at the results that it's had on the track here, and just those first 2 races, the first time it showed up in a claiming race, anybody looking at that race should have been claiming this. It's looking obviously like a great horse. Now, maybe it's an early peak, maybe a lot of factors could go into it, but yeah, how can you not be pumped right now if you're Carmeline with this claim? I mean, it paid for itself. Over 33. Yeah, over 3 times paid for itself in the first race he ran it in. I mean,
yeah, that's definitely something to look for too. Like won the maiden, didn't have the best morning lines in that. That's okay, but like one of the things that's kind of beneficial for third-party tools is like the archetype rank for this horse, right? It is number 9, so it ran the 9th fastest time so far this season for an S plus on 12 left dirt soft. So that's kind of what these eyes signify. It's a fast time. Keep your eye on this horse. So right out of the gate, it's smoking.
So, and again, with this horse, it's already got points now in the Rising Stars. Obviously, it's above the cut line, and it's got points in the Juvenile Claim to Fame. So, as this horse ages, or horses, not necessarily this one, I'll break some alpha right here on stream, and it might be up yet or it might not. But the Claim to Fame finals are going to run on Fridays, this season and moving forward.
Breaking news! Everybody jot it down, baby.
Breaking news. So you would be able to, if you can get the points, run this horse in Claim to Fame, and then also run it in Rising Stars, or run it, in the 4-year-olds. You could have one that you claim, run it in the Claim to Fame, and run it in the High Court Classic if that's available to you. So there's opportunities there with these type of horses. This is a horse that, and obviously he's not going to run it in 5K claimers because it's going to get claimed right away. But as the season goes down, if he's got lots of points in Rising Stars and wants to live dangerously, as Austin Powers would say, and slap it in a 20K claimer to get the points. Yeah, so and then at 20K, the question becomes of everybody looking at it, it's like, that's pricey price tag, but I'm going to have the 3-year points to get the Claim to Fame and double dip in the Rising Stars, or even just Rising Stars. I won't be in the Claim to Fame because I don't have points, but it's a 20K claim worth a chance at Rising Star, and maybe a horse that I think can run in Derby qualifiers next year. Maybe. And I think eventually we'll get to where people are using and marketing when they have horses in claiming races that are qualified for girls later in the season. Like, you get a horse that qualifies for the Kentucky Derby, and you're a 3-star firm horse, and that some bitch rolls 80%. Maybe you're, I'm going to throw this claimer for 20K and advertise it. Hey, this horse is in the Kentucky Derby. It's available in the claiming race for 20K. If you want it, run that, or if you want to buy it for that and run in the undercard, which is, might happen to be a better weather roll for you. Those opportunities are going to be there, and I look forward to the gamification that comes with that. Anybody that watched the Netflix show there, let the Ivaronis of the world just come in and buy their way in the Derby if they want to, and there's people that will do that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the ability to hedge with a high stakes claimer and just say, you know what, I qualified this horse for the major. I don't have the stomach or the guts or the desire, or my stable management won't allow me to do it, to try and go for the boom or bust. Just get paid, man. Just hedge and get paid and sell that horse and let someone else, run with it from there. I think that's a great point, Bryce. I think, and with the high value claimers, so you don't just need the marketplace for that. You put in a high value claimer and then let somebody else see if they're going to pick up on it. But every horse has a value, and you said it before, Bryce, about you have to know where you're going to run the horse next. And I think the schedule is shaping up season by season. It improves, and the roadmap is there. And I've got some horses, you say not to marry your horses, but I've got some 2-year-olds that I'm not running in claimers now, even though I probably should, because I already know where I'm going to run them at 3. I already know I'm going to run them in the High Court Classic at 4. I already know I'm going to run them in Middle Age Madness, and then 3 seasons of Geezers. So it's like the roadmap is there, and there's plenty of opportunities. And now with things spaced out, you could double and triple dip in some of these free rolls. I've got horses that'll run probably an undercard, probably not the overcard for High Court Classic, but I've got a bunch of horses that'll run the High Court Classic, Middle Age Madness, and the Geezer Stakes this season. All 3.
Geezer Stakes, underrated. I mean, I've won a couple, maybe two, maybe. Yeah, off of I've won a couple Geezer free rolls off of, really cheap claimers in the past too. So, there's multiple strategies, just claimers. You don't have to just look at them as am I going to get into the, claim to fame stuff? It's well, who's running a 4-year-old, 5-year-old horse that potentially is yet to peak or peaking that can then go into the Geezer series and do well.
Yeah, so before we look at another race here, can I get you to pull up one more horse that I want to show you?
Yeah.
It's named Derb's Last Stand, DRBS, Last Stand. And I just know this horse because I had a message about it today with a guy crapping himself. He was so excited. This horse last season, as a 3-year-old, was claimed in a 2.4 claimer literally 2 days before the finals ran. So it was already in the race. It won that claimer. And then it ran in the claim to fame final. It only got 6 out of 18, so it walked away with a little less than 2K Derby of winnings. And then coming out this season, it ran 4 claiming races to start with. It got 13th, and then it won a 2.4, and then a 5th, and then it won a 5K. So it's already got 20 points in claim to fame. And then he's raced it in back-to-back stakes races for the High Court Classic, and it's got back-to-back second places, and is now above the cut line for the undercard when you look at the current series races. This is an example of the gameplay that we've kind of talked about that I think you're going to start seeing more and more as we get later in the 3-year-old season with horses. That, like Beetlejuice just said, I'm claiming this horse because I think it's going to be able to do well in the High Court Classic, in the Middle Age Madness, as a 6-year-old, and then I can double, triple dip throughout. But this horse specifically, when you just click on its fleet figures and hit the trend, you can see a pretty clear, steady trend up where this horse has been going. So, and these horses are out there plenty. So this is kind of one of the things that I talk about with the older horses that have some races. I mean, if you hit that trend line, and yes, you got to filter out the noise between the difference between claimers and static, but overall, if you're seeing that trend line just pressing its way upward consistently, that's a pretty good sign that this horse is coming into the peak, or there's more to come, or this is where it's plateauing, and it's plateauing at a level much higher than a 1,200 or 2,400 claimer, and then take that chance and do something with it if it's something there. So that was just a fun one. But yeah, you guys got any other horses or anything you want to spotlight? I do have a few races I do want to look at, a couple ones that Carter had sent in where he has a few notes on, so we can look at those. Or whatever you guys want to do here. The ones I have don't run for a bit still.
Yeah,
share the Carter notes, please.
I'm trying to pull back up the
talk
screen,
about sharp stable owners.
Yeah, so Carter, TriStar Stables, he's someone I've known for 4+ years now because he was in the other game. But yeah, he's obviously a very sharp player. He's part of the cabal. He's got the ears and access to a lot of horses, and he's one of the sharper minds out there as claimers. So if we can look at the Moonbeam Nudge claimer that's coming up at 9:30 p.m. So claims that
Good Lord, Carmeline.
Yeah,
it's a Carmeline race.
I'm trying to pull up the stream here because Giddy up. I don't know if you can stop it and then restart it again because it just shut off on my end. So I'm showing my screen right now, the race for the current claimer, but it stopped playing on my end. So whenever you got that up and running, I'm just showing the the race here, the previous Nightfall Football Juvenile Claimer. Do you guys have anybody there in that claimer? I know the one from my sire, Bandit Bomber, is running here, the one, but it doesn't look to be doing so hot. Did you guys have anyone in specific here that you guys wanted to point out? In the
I hadn't looked at that one in depth. The first thing I look at when I'm looking is TriStar, as we talk about Carter. You look at the morning line odds on the 5 horse. That was the horse that had the best morning line odds. So that's the first one that I would immediately
it
first.
looks like 5 got up for third. The 3 won by about 4 or 5 lengths. Chairlift of Doom. So something to look at there again. I'm going right back to the stream here. Hold on. All right, we're back up in the stream. Giddy up, so take it away, and Bryce, take it away. I'm gonna put it right back here. Boom. There you go. You're all set, big fella.
Okay. So what is? So when we look at, I'm just waiting for the screen to pop up here on my end.
Yeah. Hold on. Make sure I transition here.
But yeah, if we take a look at O'Sullivan, the number 1 horse in this race, you take a look back. We've seen it's ran a couple full maidens. It's got some stakes races already in its history. The stakes races haven't gone great, but you look at the morning line odds on the races it's ran, and that first maiden race, it had by far the best morning line. So immediately, there's something to look at. And then you look at the next race that it won, and it wasn't the best morning line odds, but it was second or third or something like that. Mm-hmm. So again, there's something that we should be seeing on this horse. And then when we go and actually look at the at the bloodlines of the horse, where it's been running at, we see some pretty nice. That SS plus on the mum is interesting. And then you bred it with French Cat, who's a Secretariat stable. You've got a lot of potential in short distance races with this horse. The stats seem to stack up pretty nicely, and that's probably where those big morning line odds are coming from, I should say. So this one kind of jumped out to me on this race here. Again, it's less than the breed cost. It was an external breed. I wonder, as I kind of look at these stats here, the temper and heart are curious. I mean, the finish I don't think is going to be super great. It's just the potential start on this horse is crazy. And again, when you look at what it was doing in those maidens, there's a lot to be very intrigued by. And maybe it's not quite aged up enough to compete really well at those stakes left. Maybe it is, and we just haven't found the perfect distance for it yet. But this horse is very interesting to me. It's one that I know Carter had marked it as well and mentioned the morning line favorite in his maiden debut. He thinks it's probably got low heart, but is one that potentially could farm in claimers. Wouldn't be surprised as this ages in. And that's the thing with juveniles. You don't know when that's going to be, right? Like, at some point, I think the broad belief is that the morning line odds, and we saw why. Like, we see that crazy SS plus. Maybe there's something there that could be special. It might take them till they're 4 years old before they start hitting that peak. But the fact that you've already had a little bit of success here in those big fields kind of makes me a little more optimistic. And then when we look at Zaragana as well, again, we see some things here that are encouraging. I mean, the maidens, it ran competitively in 2 of them. The third one it didn't do as well. And then it ran in a 1.2 claimer and got second. So we're kind of liking where it's heading. I like the fact that we're going back to 6 furlongs here with this race. And just purely based on what we've seen in these races, I still don't think we know where this is at, but building on the success of that. So this is another one that's interesting. And then again, you look at the bloodlines, and it's a third-party breed, so this horse costs at least $4,000 to the breed, and you can dig in more. And again, we see the profile, the SS minus start on both parents, the SS speed on the dad, S plus speed on the mom. We got some decent looking heart here showing through the SS minus and the S plus. So certainly a few things to really like about this horse. And then again, when we actually look at maiden races that it ran in, we're seeing not great morning line odds in the first one. In the second race here, not great at all, like really bad morning line odds. So is this a horse that is going to outkick the coverage on the morning line odds? Potentially. I mean, podium so far in, not terrible races. The 1.2 claimer is an interesting one. So again, this is the kind of horse I'm not sold that it's worth claiming, but you can see just looking at the bloodline some potential there. Vinewood, the 3-horse, it's got a win already in its career in a low end claimer. So, and the fleet figures that it's popping are looking pretty nice. And then again, we do a quick jump, look at the claimer, look at a couple maidens. Where are the morning line odds? Are they stacking up with something good? Well, it beat the last horse that we talked about in that 1.2 claimer, so they ran together there. And then when you look at the morning line odds of the maidens, not bad. It had an 11 in the one that I just looked at. So there's certainly things to look at here. And again, you go to the bloodline, really like the stud, really like the mare. I mean, this has a little wider range. Could have the distance preference, so maybe it just hasn't quite found that yet, even though it does, like I said, have that win at a 6 furlong race. So this is one I might be tempted to stretch out a little bit just because there's such a wide variety of nice looking stats there. But yeah, so excuse me, starting to lose my voice. And then the final horse in this field, Sparkle in the Work from APB Racing. Again, big stable. It's won a 1.2 claimer. So we talk about climbing the ladder a lot. This is the horse where, it ran 1.2 and won. Let's climb the ladder with it. So how do we think it's going to do in the next race? So that's, again, the thing that you're always wanting to understand is what's next. And maybe the point is I'm claiming this horse because I think it's going to be able to run in the free roll, and that's what's next for this horse. I'm not worried about anything else, and that's not a bad answer. That's perfectly fine. And with the Sparkle in the Work, when you look at its morning line on in a maiden, the first thing I noticed is that it lost to O'Sullivan in the maiden. So again, as we start handicapping this specific field, and it was a 6 furlong sloppy, O'Sullivan's the one that jumped me as one that potentially is worth a claim. But again, one or two of the other horses have already won 1.2 claimers. So you've already got points stacking up in these. Current cut lines are 2 right now for the right turf. So you got a 5-horse field, sorry, where horses are going to be getting 4 horses, right? Yeah. So horses are getting points here. You're going to have the 2 horses that have 10 points already are going to be expanding on that and boosting that up. So both Vinewood and Sparkle in the West. There's an easy argument there to claim based on blood looks nice. The odds on Sparkle in the Work look really nice in this race here as well. So yeah, you can make an argument for probably 3 of these horses in this race that could be worth a claim if you know how you would run the horse after or what your plan is. Maybe your horse is to run it back in a 2.4K claimer if it doesn't show up well here and just try to stack points and sneak it through or win the next race kind of with it. So that's the never-ending game within the game is what's next? Where can I run this in?
Perfect.
I'll let you guys take over and comment on this here because I'm losing my voice.
We had a conversation.
You need a
going
swig
on.
of bourbon.
Well, I was having technical issues with Giddy upstream, so I apologize for that. I may need to go out and come back in real quick myself, but we had some comments from the audience. I know it says Biperactor says, I know it takes more time, but do you ever consider race times? And Beetlejuice responded to that. I think race times are really important, but I don't dig as deep there as I probably should. Do you want to expand on that, Beetlejuice?
Yeah, I think if I'm looking to spend a decent amount on a claimer, I'll look at I'll look at the distances it's ran well at. I'll look at the races it won, and I'll look at the distances and the conditions, and then I'll go to something like well, usually, I mean, quite frankly, we're talking about S plus horses in this case. And if I'm looking at one in like a 7.5K or something like that, that I'm looking to make a pretty big investment in, I'll go look at the times it ran at certain distances and conditions, and then I'll go to last season's major, and I'll look at the horses that did well in that major and where they were running at that particular age. So if I'm looking at a juvie, right, I'll look at who the top 5 horses from a major in that archetype, and I'll look at the times they ran as a juvie, and I'll compare. And you know, you have to factor in aging and everything else like that when it comes to that. But if the horse you're looking at claiming is putting up times that are comparable, that's a really good indicator. But I've seen times where I've had a horse that is just like winning all over the place, and I compare its times to comparable times to horses on the same distance, surface, everything else like that. And they're like a half a second to a second slower. I'm like, oh, wait a second, maybe this is just not as good, or even, maybe still a good horse, but not worth the claim, because 7.5K, you really need to run that horse up to try and make that money back. But, but if it's in a 1.2 or 2.4, then I know I could run that horse down a little bit and still have it do really well. But like Viper said, it takes a ton of time, because you really have to you have to go onto different horse pages, and you have to look at their times. I know there's some guidelines out there for, say, what are winning times for G1, G2, G3 winners and everything else like that. The problem is that changes all the time. So unless your benchmarks are really, really accurate, I suppose, there's probably a market for somebody to aggregate that data. Not me. I'm lucky I could turn the computer on, but to just aggregate the data and come up with, all the winning times for certain things. And who knows, maybe someone out there is doing it already. Giddy Up is really the only third-party tool I use, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't know. But
Well,
Yeah, so I think Giddy Up already has that on the site where it can show you if it's a top 10 time or whatever. Obviously, if you have the top time, and you probably won that race because there's nobody ever that's ran that time. But I think Giddy Up does have a little bit of that already incorporated in his website, right, Giddy Up?
yeah, and I mean, Gap Data was the first to do it. I just kind of also kind of rolled into my site. There is a rankings that you can kind of come to and get the overall times for you know uh all the horses. You can select grades if the grades that you want to be included in kind of like the rankings. It works as like a band. The more grades you select, the more you know fine tuned the data will be when it comes to stuff like that. But there is like Viperactive did ask the question about looking at times too, and that is something that I take in consideration a lot. Um, Kind of on the site too, which I'll probably, this was kind of like at one point in time, this was going to be my starting point for kind of getting into race forms and stuff like that, kind of like what PFL DRF forms were. But I decided not to really expand on that. He had already, had a really good product. So I decided to just kind of like stop my development on that. But it's still kind of on the site too. But what you can kind of see here when it comes to times is you can go through, you can click this like little beaker icon. That's not available for everybody. My boy Beetle got it because he be donating. But I think it's in a decent enough spot to actually just kind of release to the public. But you can kind of drill into here and you can see the times that they ran these. I haven't touched this particular section in 6 months or something like that, but you can see the population average time, for the grade, the distance, direction, surface, and condition, and you can see how the horse compared to it, right? So if you're looking at the O'Sullivan horse, he ran a restricted stakes, 6 right turf sloppy. The population average time was 70 seconds and 17, or 70 17, and he ran a little bit faster, right? So he ran a 7.14, which was I guess rounded down is how I'm displaying it, but you can kind of see a guideline of differential times compared to the average. So I do look at times. I think that's super important too. Um, so kind of looking at this, I don't know what I've already kind of forgot what this was. This is a 6 right turf sloppy. So potentially if I was coming in here, looking at this overview of this race, I'd look at the other, right turf sloppies like 0.02% quicker, sloppy, he ran over the average time, right turf sloppy. He ran 0.04 faster, this guy, and then a little bit over. So you can take that in consideration. I guess the fastest time to sparkle in the work at 6 right turf sloppy ran, 0.17 0.17 seconds faster than the average population at right turf sloppy. So you can definitely take that in consideration.
Awesome, awesome. So that's times. So who do we like? Beetlejuice. Which one do you like in this 9:30 spot here out of this 4-horse Carmeline Field and APB Racing?
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, yeah. I love confirmation, especially when smart people are saying the same things that I'm thinking, and I like the O'Sullivan horse. I did not put a claim in. I need more. I need a little more data. I don't think I'm going to get it because I think someone's either going to claim and bump it up, or Carmeline's going to come to his senses and maybe not put him in a claimer again. But that's the one that caught my eye from the beginning. So to hear that other people were looking at it is always nice to hear.
Awesome, awesome. Bryce, you got anything to add on this one that you seen extra now that you've taken a little break?
No, I mean I kind of walked through I think there's 3 of the horses in this field have a reasonable case to get claimed, and it's always going to be what fits with what you want, because something that Beetlejuice is looking at claiming might not be something that Turbo's looking at claiming. So it's very much going to depend on your stable.
Yeah, Bryce, that's a great point.
Go
If I could, I'm going to interrupt you totally because before I lose this thought, but that's a great point. I used to play the claimers where I was looking at for the claimer contest. Now I'm playing it completely differently, which is I'm looking to build my stable through claiming. I love breeding. Breeding is fun. I suck at it. I'm the worst. I'm terrible at breeding, and so I don't want to do it anymore. So I want to give money to people for their horses and let them go breed. So I'm looking to build my stable through claiming. But if someone's looking to really aggressively play this claimer contest, then yeah, actually in that race I would claim all 3 Carmeline horses, because it's a 4-horse race. You're getting to 10-4-2 in points. That's going to be well on your way. Some of them have points already. It's well on your way to making the free roll. And I think, Bryce, you and I talked about this heading into the Claim to Fame series, and I still think there's an opportunity and no one's doing it. There's a way to attack this series where you just run horses in groups, and like a situation like this where you claim all, you're getting points, and you just stack enough points on enough horses, and you're getting a sizable chunk of that free roll field, and your odds of getting onto the podium and top 5 and making money are pretty dang good. So in that respect, it all depends on what you're looking for, like you said, Bryce. If you're looking to claim horses and keep them in the Claim to Fame series, then a 4-horse race with quality horses in it, just, I do this. I used to do this a lot. Just claim the field, man. Just claim the field.
Yeah, the point is there, and yeah, like you said, it's I don't think it's the Zerga, but the APB horse Sparkle and the Work and Vinewood, they both got wins already in the 1200 claimers. So if that's the way if you want to just claim a horse for 1200, run it in 24. Once it wins, they're going to bump up, or if it gets claimed, great, I profit. Like if you want to just ladder up, so to speak, hoping it gets claimed, or wow, I've built up all these points here, I'm going to run this in a 7,500 claimer, trying to win the race. If I get claimed, great. If not, I've still got a pile of points in them in the free roll. I mean, that's one way to play it. Another way to play it is grabbing a horse to run in stakes races. Like this one here, I think can run Rising Stars or Majors or High Court Classic or whatever it is. And like you talk about, you're trying to get 5-6 years of a horse racing. Like that's what you're looking to claim as one that you think you can run forever, basically. So there's no right way to do it. Like we're talking a bunch of different things to look at stuff, but it really just matters for your stable. I know one guy who literally liquidated his stable before the last season, just sold for whatever he could get and reinvested entirely in the Claim to Fame series. Claimed horses that were already had points at the 1.2, 2.4 area, and he ended up making several $100s last season off the free rolls by just doing that and just not giving a crap about anything other than, can this horse run at the next level of claimers profit? I think it can. Okay, they claim it. And then you get to the point where in the free roll, or like say, poach some free rolls or the claimers late that horses were running in and were already in the free rolls, so it was an easy claim. And yeah, they had a good season. So there's a lot of different ways. Or we saw Cold Plunge the other day claim an SS minus for 7,500, which is what it had got claimed for the season prior, and the person who had it won a bunch of money with it, including in a free roll. I think it got second in a free roll, if I'm remembering right. I can't remember the horses. And then Cold Plunge claimed it because he's like, I want to breed this horse. It was 4 years old then. And he bred it, or claimed it, retired it, threw it in the stud barn. And he it had a few SS reveals in there, so he's planning on using that for cheap internal breeding. I mean, there's a lot of ways to play at this. And that's the beauty of it, because you can come in fresh. And this is going to be your quickest way to having success, is understand the fields. And you can look at, like, I think this horse is going to win this race. Okay, it did. Or if it didn't, why didn't it? And they're easier, obviously, not at the 2-year-old age. But once you start evaluating that and understanding that, the sky's the limit, because you understand how to do that. A, you potentially can make money betting. B, you can find the low price claimers to claim that you can run however you want. If it's to get to majors, if it's to get to just up the climbing ladder board, or if it's to breed stock. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. So your individual experience will be different from everyone else's, but yeah, you can go from a nothing stable to having some pretty terrific blood throughout your stable from some of the best horses and biggest stables in a pretty quick and cost-efficient manner compared to traditionally what's been there.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and just to add on to that, Bryce, I think if you look at the economics, I think most horses that are in claimers are undervalued, right? If you take a look at an S Plus costs $4,000 to breed. If it's in house, it costs $2,000 to breed, whatever. But there's another cost to that, and that's the cost of discovery. Whether you're running maidens or claimer races or everything else like that, it's very, very rare that we get a horse and we run it in a race and it comes in first with a massive fleet figure and we're like, oh, we've dialed in the distance preference on one race. So when you add the cost of discovery to the cost of breeding and the fact that you're waiting 2 seasons for a new breed to hit the track, and you're telling me that I can get a horse that's been tested at 3 or 4 different distances, that looks like it's showing some promise, that looks like it's doing well, for half the cost, and I could run it right now, I think really breeding's important, has a very important part in the game, and I think that people should definitely do it. But for a newer stable coming in, I think I think breeding is something you have to work up to. And in some cases, people never get there, like me, even though I still breed. But a new stable coming in, you eliminate the wait time, you eliminate discovery, which is hard, especially as a new stable. And it's just about, and everyone's like, oh, Beetle, you've done really well in claimers. Well, yeah, but I'm not good at racing, right? Like, I'm not good at discovering I'm not good at breeding horses. I'm not good at discovering horses. I'm not good at figuring out, where they should be running as far as weather conditions, everything else like that. What I'm good is looking at horses that people have done the work on, claiming them, and then just repeating that 10, 15, 20, 30 times over the next couple seasons. And I think that's really the roadmap for anyone to get into this game and do. I think that's the secret right there. Because people put horses in claimers for all kinds of reasons. They think it's too old. They think it's washed up. They think it's done. They had a bad race. They're in a bad mood. They got into a fight with their girlfriend. Whatever. They put horses in claimers for all kinds of reasons. And a lot of horses in claimers shouldn't be there. And it's your job to claim them and then race them in the appropriate spot. And there's a lot of there's certain stables. I'm not going to tell you who they are. If they put a horse in a claimer, I'm claiming it. I don't give a crap because they've just got a reputation.
Hey, come on now. Come on. Give us at least one.
They've got no, it'll kill me if I call them out like this.
Yeah.
They've got a reputation for just massively strong bloodlines, great performances, everything else like that. And when I get a hold of it, when I see one in a claimer, I'll claim it. And it's all right there. These horses are all pre-discovered. They're all ready to race. It's all right there. You've just got to follow the roadmap and don't stop. If it's a 3-year-old, run it in stakes as 4, run it in middle-aged madness as 5, run it in geezers as 6, 7, 8 years old. Maybe they die, but I've had horses that have had their best season at 8. All you got to do is follow what's already there with these claimer horses. They're already broken in for you. It's right there in front of you.
Go Joe Spark, baby.
That is good. That is good.
Go Joe Spark.
Joe Spark defied the laws of the universe.
Another thing that we did not talk about. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you make good points. I think there's there's a lot of ways to be successful at this game. It's just kind of raising awareness, and that's why I'm grateful that you put this stream together, because it's like, if people want to be successful, man, I mean, this was a deep dive with some of the best minds in the Claimer series. And obviously, you got Bryce. But, I don't think he's sharing, the top secret alpha, but he's got a good insight into, helping this game be successful. So appreciate you, putting on this little platform for us to go in here and try to give some of the alpha away so that, people can be successful at this.
And look at O'Sullivan.
And look who's going to win.
O'Sullivan taking him home. Another thing that we did not mention, though, and I've been waiting for you guys to touch on, with these small horse fields, and something that may have that Carmeline may have done here. When you see a field that a claiming race that has one horse in it, and let's say it's coming down to like the last few minutes, and you need that liquidity, and you haven't been able to find other races and stuff like that, wouldn't it just behoove you to just shuck them in there, because you're gonna get points? You're gonna get, sometimes it's a race that's off your distance preference, maybe you're like 6, 7, and it's just a 4 or 5, but it only has one horse in there, but you're gonna get those guaranteed points, and hopefully somebody claiming a horse that you didn't even want at that point, or you wanted to move on from, right, guys? Have you ever? I know Beetlejuice during the old format used to take advantage of that amount, if I'm not mistaken. But I think that's also a play here.
Flipping horses is a real thing. I mean, somebody just mentioned in chat, Cody Gibbons was very handsome. Talked about it earlier. Like, he would put his horses in at the end of the season knowing that they would get claimed because he wants the Derby liquidity, and then that would pay for his next series of racing. So it's definitely a strategy. And I mean, I think me and Beetle, I forgot what, whenever, maybe like 5 or 6 seasons ago, there was people snapping up our horses at, 15,000 Derby that, I 100% know I put 800 Derby in, to 400 Derby in, just like, whales coming in and sniping them up and breeding them and using them. So.
That's right. So you guys were spot on O'Sullivan. Small field from Carmeline. Let's see if it got claimed. Did it get claimed?
We gotta wait 1 minute and 41 seconds.
Oh, okay. Did you put in a claim, Beetlejuice, or are you just waiting for that?
I did not.
You did not. Okay.
But I'm kind of wishing. Yeah, I'm just. All
right. Well, let's do this. Let break down these attributes. We've touched on them a little bit. I know we've talked about heart, and archetypes and stuff like that. But is there anything like that made you not claim it? Maybe based on some of the the pedigree from the sire
Had
or
it
mare.
had it had nothing to do with the horse. I'm very, very reluctant to claim juvies. I like the olds. I like I really like four and up. Racing for majors is fun as hell. It stresses me out.
Mature fan. I see you. Okay.
Yeah, and so the fact that this horse is a juvie with only 4 races, it's it's a little out of my wheelhouse because I still think it's not dialed in yet. Um, it needs to a little more discovery, and it's just this is just a personal thing, and just like a stable management thing. Like I run, I don't even know how many horses I run. I run probably like over 100, I think, and it's a bandwidth issue for me. So the amount of attention I would have to pay to this horse is more than I'm willing to or able to do right now. And so that was kind of the tipping point. But I think like, Carter nailed this horse and said, this is one worth claiming. I think if I ran my stable in a different way, this would have been a no-brainer claim for me. But I was passing on it just as a function of Carter
Who
got
did
it.
it?
Yeah, and
Carter
Carter.
was
Funny
Carter
you
was the
mention-
only one on it.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned
He
it.
was
And
the only
here,
one on it.
here are the
87.
notes from him. He says it probably has low heart, but can or should farm and claimers. Are you looking now that we talked about subgrades? Are you looking for horses? Do you care about heart? Obviously, in this race, do you? How do I put this? Are you looking for this to be a springboard to something major, or when you want a claimer, do you just toss out one specific stat like heart in this case, where a lot of people do because they don't think that heart is required for these type of fields. It's usually 4, 5, 7, 8. Is that a strategy also in there that you might put in and a wrinkle in your strategy?
I think it is, and I think Carter's read on that is way way better than mine will ever be. And if he's right about that, and he thinks the horse has low heart, then I don't think it's going to matter if what people theorize about heart is true. I don't think it's really going to matter for a horse to be running in the Claimer series. I will say this, and this is just my personal standpoint, and I don't advise that anybody follow me on this. People spend a tremendous amount of time trying to dig into the individual attributes, what they mean, where they're important, how they're important, why they're important, where you should race based on that. I think there's meaning to all of it. I really, truly do, and I believe that. And I think the game is so well designed that everything matters. But
I think so too.
it's opaque. And a lot of it will always be opaque because even within, an S plus is not an S plus, right? It could be, and you see it when you look at the breeding reports, it could be a high S plus, a low S plus. It's, they're not all created the same. I'm talking about just one attribute, right? Like an S plus heart, all S plus hearts are not the same. And so my personal take is that and please don't do this. I ignore all of it. I ignore all of it. I don't pay any attention to any of it. I look where the horse is running. Is it running? I'm so simple, it's not even funny. Horse wins, good horse. Horse loses, bad horse. That's it. It's literally that simple for me. So while I think there's so much more there, it's not something I pay a lot, if any, attention to, only because it just, I mean, my brain will break. It really will. And so I think,
Yeah,
but to answer your question, I think Carter's read on this horse being a claimer warrior because it has low heart, it's probably spot on.
Awesome.
Right. I think there's like some stable size thoughts to go into that. Like what you said, you don't have the time to really deep dive into everything and look at individual attributes and stuff. I think some of the people who maybe have a little bit of a smaller stable, a little bit more free time, they're not entering 100 races right before a podcast kicks off. They're going to have a little bit more free time to kind of maybe dig into stuff like that. I mean, shout out to the GOAT, who I think contributes an enormous amount to the game, is AI Paddock. He has this like attribute effect on performance by distance. I think this chart that he just put out, for people who are kind of interested in attributes and likes to do that deep dive, I mean, I think this really kind of, spells it out on kind of like looking into the attributes. And it kind of aligns with my anecdotal, you know, anecdotal stories and feel of playing the game, kind of how this lines out, and kind of like some of the retired horses that I go back and I look at, a graph like this, and I see how they performed, and kind of does kind of measure out to follow graphs like this. Um, to go back to the Sullivan horse real quick, it's like, when I'm looking at a horse myself, like as a smaller stable who is not entering 100 races, maybe 12, 15 at max a season. I do like to take in consideration some of these attributes, like one of the main ones that I kind of look at is heart, right? So we got parents are repping both S plus, and it's like, okay, so you kind of take general rules, you take the average. So I'm thinking, this O'Sullivan guy, at least this horse has probably an in grade S plus. I don't know what the breeding report looks like, but that's okay. Whenever they're running like a 6 furlong, I noticed down here, they had like a top 10 time or 6 furlong sloppy. They ran an 82 fleet figure for that. You compare that to the rest of the field, at other 6 furlongs that other people ran this race, like can't even pronounce his name, not going to try, but a 37th best time. 6 furlong sloppy, 19th best time, 29th best time. These are some of the horses that were in the race against that horse. So Sparkle and Work did they have a sloppy 6 furlong? 14. So yeah, I mean the 14's not bad, but I'll put the eyes on this kind of quickly, like help me evaluate, horses that are putting up good times. And then I kind of refresh the race history, and then in that last ran the ninth time for 6 right turf sloppy. But just kind of like comparing some of the other data out there by the other people who contribute to the PFL third party ecosystem, and then kind of aligning some of this is definitely something that I look into, and the attributes. I'm a sucker for big heart. I think that's, for me, kind of something that I'll look for. It's like, okay, anecdotally, it's like if I have a horse with big heart and I'm running them in claimers, they tend not to do well. That's all I'm saying. I have all the data. I should probably like get somebody smart to help me analyze it, or analyze it myself. And they tend to, I think, do better in higher stakes races, whether it be price or field size. I'm kind of leaning off anecdotally. Some of the horses I have, heart, I think has a lot to do with field size. Kind of where I'm lining out to be. Those are just some kind of like random thoughts I have on some of these attributes that you can kind of align with other content creators, information's out there. Highly recommend AI Paddock. I mean, I think this graph is, he what was this? Hang in the Louvre, tape it to your laptop. I think, stuff like this, extremely beneficial, and whenever you combine it with other, data points out there, can help you evaluate horses, hopefully, kind of quickly. We're looking at start speed on this horse. According to this, at 6 furlongs, stamina and finish aren't that, important for this kind of horse archetype, kind of sprinter build. But you do see from the parents, incredible start, SSS plus start combined with an SS minus speed. You kind of take the average, that's kind of a weak speed on the mare side, but who knows, might have wicked well. It's kind of looking like potentially what could have happened. So you could potentially have like an SS minus SS plus start. Kind of same with the speed. Temper, might be S to S plus. Heart, S plus, at least in grade, or one down, one above. But quick little rundown on whenever I'm kind of evaluating horses, I do kind of like enjoy looking at the attributes. Small stable size owner. Once you start, running 100 horses, that's going to be
lost him there. Giddy up. Sorry about that. I don't know if you're back with
Yep,
us.
seemed to lost the audio.
Yeah. But I did want to touch on that these are things that everybody can, just because Beetlejuice is going simple, you can capitalize on him being simple and having too many horses. Like he said, he likes to have horses that have already a track record and stuff like that. So you might be better off if you don't want your horses claim putting them in at juveniles, because a lot of people might be having that same thinking. Or you could be like, hey, you know what? I want to use claimers to actually find those gems that can actually run good by finding the ones that have good heart. And I want to go ahead and transition that into maybe a stakes non-winners of 2 and see what it does there. Yeah, okay, it didn't do well. Let me drop it back down. Another thing to consider, and I don't think we've touched up on, how do you guys, and we've been talking a lot about it, but we've been kind of touching around it. The fleet figures. We talked about fleet figures and speed, which one you like more. But do you guys think there's a difference in the fleet figures and claimers that you should maybe take into consideration? Because I know before there was, I don't know if it was a myth or a conspiracy theory, where claimers will have a little bit more of an inflated fleet figure. How do you guys feel about that?
So I'll jump in on this and I'll jump in on this and speak definitively. There is a difference in the fleet figure that a horse would put in a claiming race versus other race, because it's measured against a different quality horse in that race. So yeah, a great fleet figure to claimer doesn't necessarily mean it's going to produce that fleet figure in a stakes race. But there's still a very effective tool when you're able to get a string of races that are the same type. And when I'm looking at, races for horses that are 3 and older, and they've got 6 claiming races in a row, I mean, that's the kind of trends that I'm looking for on a horse. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's always noise within that. Is it on pref, the distance and things like that. But that's where it's still an incredibly valuable tool, A, to tell you where your distance preference is. And then, as Beetlejuice said, horse wins good, horse doesn't win bad. You start applying that, and okay, I'm always running. I know where this horse is supposed to run. I'm running at it here. Then you can use the fleet figure there to really watch aging, which y'all have heard me say 50 times. So few people understand aging in this game and the impact it has. I mean, you can have a horse that is, what's the right word? I mean, it can have a really long, you can have horses that have a peak for a year and a half, or season and a half, 2 seasons. You can have ones that have a really short peak that's a week, 2 weeks at the peak. And then on the other end of that is they kind of, and I know there's the one chart out there that Ian shared, they have kind of a closer to the peak range. And sometimes that's really low. I mean, I've seen a horse that literally had the green shade, meaning it was getting to or going from its peak, and then the peak really lasted for 4 seasons. There's wild ones like that. There's also ones that it is so far off, and then bam, it's at peak, and then it hits the peak and just drops off right after. So it's wild to see some of the differences, and I think that's one of the things where fleet figures can be really effective at using is watching to see how they're progressing as they race. And obviously that gets easier, more effective with horses 3 and older, just because they have more races, or later in the 2-year-old season. Because there are horses that'll peak early at 2, and by the time they're turning 3, I mean they're on the downslope. So it's all about kind of learning that aging the more a horse runs, and then you can use that in breeding, because aging is absolutely a breeding trait that is factored in. So, and I think that's the biggest misconception out there with morning line odds is what do they mean and how can they apply for breeding, for racing, and things like that, and really kind of watching when that peak is about to hit is certainly a part of it.
Awesome. That's great info. Anything you want to add to that, Beetlejuice, in regards to the fleet figures? Something that you want to look for? Do you look for, well, you obviously already told us you're looking for podiums, or does it win, does it not? When do you give up on a horse? let me ask that. When Beetlejuice, when are you like, you know what? I claimed this horse. I was wrong. What do you do there? Do you like stick it in the lowest claimer possible and hopefully it wakes up, or do you sit him down? What is the thought process for you? Obviously, it's different from every horse, but generally speaking, what is your go-to move when that happens?
Okay, so I'm gonna say something, and Bryce is either gonna be quiet, or he's not gonna confirm it. He's either gonna be quiet or tell me I'm wrong. But my opinion is that some horses are just bad, and it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you race them. It doesn't matter distance, condition, type of race, everything else like that. Some horses are just bad.
There you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
Hard to
silence.
argue.
So I'm right. So I'm right. So um so to answer your question about when I give up on a horse, because yeah, I mean I've claimed some doozies before, right? Like sometimes a horse is just bad, right? And so I think if you're open to that idea and you believe in it and it's probably right, then as soon as you figure it out, that horse is just done. And you just stop racing it. You just stop racing it. As far as the aging thing goes, I haven't figured it out either. And like Ryan mentioned earlier, I had a horse Gojo Spark. Gojo Spark peaked, and by peaked I mean put up her best races ever in the last 2 weeks of her 8-year-old season. She was an S minus, and not only was she putting up like 80s and 82 fleet figures with record times, but I dropped her down and ran her in the regular stakes, and she was smoking 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds in those stakes races, and it was just insane. So I tell you that to tell you I try not to give up on a horse really ever, because you never know. And a lot of times I would have not raced her at 8 and just been like, oh, she's 8, she's done, everything else like that. I think if a horse just puts up like, and I've had a couple horses that have put up like 3 stinkers in a row. I'm like, all right, you get one more, and then it wins, and then it wins 2 more in a row, and I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't give up on that horse. I think if a horse puts up like 4 stinkers in a row, then it's either a bad horse if it never really won, or it could just be done. I don't really try and figure out because I think aging is a thing. I think it's a thing I don't really understand. And so, it's like the Bill Belichick thing. I'd rather give up on a horse too soon than too late. And I'm sure that I've benched or retired some horses whose best days were in front of them. And you just never know. But again, winning horse is good horse, losing horse is bad horse. When a horse starts costing me too much money and not winning enough, I'm just kind of done with it. And whether that's dropping it in a claimer and see if it's someone else wants to take a turn on it, or retire it, or put it in the marketplace, whatever the case may be. But I mean, that's an art, not a science, and I don't really know, man.
All right, when to stop is really a science. When to keep it going, also in that category. I think we have Giddy up back. He should be back from his little break. I think we have another one coming up. We have this one at 9:51. Did you want to talk about this one? I know Carter sent in some notes about the one at 10 o'clock. Just missed the window to claim, but he was on the 2, legal in the chamber. An S plus Colt RTS, 2.5 stars right, 2.5 stars on the surface, and 2 on the condition. So he won at 2.4, placed at 5K, and then has 14s already claimed to fame points. So kind of a layup there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That one is a perfect example. That should be an easy claim for somebody. Like that one's shooting fish in a barrel a little bit in the Volcano Sweep juvenile claiming. 4-horse race, you've already got a bunch of points stacked up. You're coming from a good bloodline stable. It was a bred from a Gibbons horse. I mean, you look at the stat profile of that horse. It's looking really nice. I wouldn't be surprised. The claims are over on this one, right?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Carter gets the claim on this horse because I know he had it. if this horse's next race is stakes race for the Rising Stars. You look at that bloodline. You got SS minus heart on both sides. You got SS stamina from the dad. You got an SS finish from the mom. You kind of see some of the indicators popping up here as far as, as a morning line favorite in maiden. It ran so poorly at the 5 furlong maiden that it's like, all right, we're going to be a really good long distance horse. I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets tried. And just from anecdotally kind of knowing, we can look at the current series on that horse. It's already got 1 point in the Stayer series, the Rising Stars, which is where the current cut line is at the bottom. So Kurt Soft is really, I don't know if a few of the stables that have most of the blood are sleeping right now or on vacation or what, but there's a lot of opportunities there for some easy points. So I would not be surprised if Carter gets this horse, that this one's going to test out stakes as its next race. And it's one that's being claimed in a 2,400 claim. I mean, there's opportunities here. Honestly, if it was me, that's what I would do with it, because I think it's going to smash this field. I think it's going to win this race. I don't mind sequence starts or sequence shirts in this race, but I just think it's going to win this race pretty handily. And then it's going to have a lot of points for the Claim to Fame series, so why not try to get enough of the Rising Stars as well? And then again, we could be looking at a double dip scenario, which just boosts the price. And the next time this horse is in a claimer, if it does anything in a stakes race, it's a 7,500 10K claimer if it sees another claiming race. So I think this one here is, to me, a real automatic claim, and you look at the field and it's going to pass the first test. Bam, lowest money line odds. Bam, it's hit a first and a second, and then you dig in and all right, the races it hasn't hit the podium is because it was so far off a distance prep, and you start looking where it's ran on distance prep and it's first, fourth, second, with some pretty decent fleet figures there. So it's going to pop a 80+ fleet figure in this race and win it.
Yeah, I like actually Pistol of Messiah on this one, the filly from Casa de Nova. Got put into a 1.2 claimer, has been running at the 11, posted a 68 on soft. Didn't like it. A 7 didn't like it, but it likes that 10. It may be one of those horses that only like two distance preferences, 9 and 10. I like it because it's a filly and it can have multiple uses and usually easier to claim. But if I were to claim, I have to go with Carter with Legal in the Chamber. Just an easy layup. Yeah. And also something to look at, the 3, even though it's probably not going to be my first choice. I also look at that it also has points for the, not the 3, I believe it's the sequence shirt. Has points for the low stakes showdown as well. So, I mean, you can just be like, okay, I like this horse, but this horse probably will give me the most opportunities for me to get into multiple free rolls, and I could just expand my, you know what I mean, my options with these type of horses, and I could have, especially if they're not on the same day, you know what I mean? Like, it just makes sense to grab the guy that's gonna get points and already has points, like you mentioned, for this free roll, or ideally for multiple free rolls already. So
Pistol of Messiah is an interesting one. The thing that intrigues me more than anything is how bad it was at 7 furlongs. Like, that's a horrendous fleet figure. But then it's drastically up at the 10. So
yeah,
I see what you're saying. I mean, this could be a pure 12 horse too, and that's where it could show up here. I mean, to be that bad at 7 is hard to do as an S plus. It really is. And then, especially when you have some pretty decent blood. So, and then you look into the blood and, okay, yeah, you have the SS plus speed on the mom, but it obviously didn't pick that up, or it's really late forming. So what else could have hit? Well, you got an SS finish on the dad and an SS minus on the mom. Maybe that's what hit. And so, yeah, I saw that one. It was somewhat intriguing just because I wonder if it's a pure 12 horse, which in this race, it's a 12 furlong race. So it's kind of what you want to be. So certainly an interesting one there. But yeah,
Yep.
and that's just another thing you can look at. Again, the morning line odds don't like this horse at all. So is it one you're going to be chasing in the wind forever? It would be a tough claim for me at 2.4, but I can absolutely see a scenario where it pops up there and surprises some people.
Perfect. Yeah, and again, this is one of those races where you might want to pick a horse, and it may be a springboard to something else, because it will go ahead and have. It's a low field, not that many people in it. You know what I mean? So the probability of heart coming, if you have big heart, you're probably not gonna do that well unless the field is really really bad. So, um, which one do you like here, Beetlejuice, as a final word?
Yeah, I think
I had
the
a,
I think
I had a
I think.
drop. I'm back.
Oh, is Ryan back?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
I'm
goodness.
back, baby.
I think that chamber horse. I think Bryce nailed it, and I think that it goes back to what I said before about and I want to put a big caveat on this. When I look at podium percentages, don't apply that to juvies, because that legal in the chamber, its podium percentage is probably 100%, right? It has two podiums on distance preference and a fourth out of eight, which is damn close enough, and the other two you throw away. So that one would the podium percentage is either 67% or close to 100%, and so I think that one is a slam dunk. And again, no, I don't have a claim on that one. And that's just a function of stable management. Like, that's not, Bryce said at the beginning, you got to know where you're going to race a horse next. And where you race a horse next is in a place that I'm not actively racing horses right now. So
And that was gonna
there's
be
just only
my
so much I can pay attention to.
next question. Like, how, if it were your horse, you would not be racing it in 2.4. Am I mistaken when I say that, or would you be looking to target 5K already? You already know it's almost qualified. It's guaranteed. It's got 14 points. Yada yada. Are you looking to go 5, or is this too low? Do you think? It might be like a
Yeah,
learn.
I think that's one of the most misunderstood, misapplied aspects of claiming is that first of all, the balance of where you can run a horse versus where where you can run a horse safely versus where you can run a horse where it could win. And I think people automatically equate 1.2K for weak horses and 7.5K for strong horses. But I don't think that's always the case. And I think people try to run their horses at as low as possible, whether it be from a bankroll management standpoint that they want to pay the lower entry fee, to they think they're going to find a softer field in a lower claimer amount. There's risk involved, and the lower you go, the higher the risk of you getting claimed. And I think, yeah, sometimes people are sleeping, and sometimes you could slide one through, but when the sharps are out, you're not going to get one through. And you might not even be getting an easier field at 2.4, especially with the juvies, because you just don't know. So I think, no, if that were my horse, so if that were my horse and I was happy getting 2.4, I'd run it in a 2.4. But if that were my horse that I wanted to keep and run and have success, and even if I wanted to keep it in the Claim to Fame series, I wouldn't run that horse below 5K. And if it gets another win, I wouldn't run it below 7.5K.
And it just did. It just won the race. So
Yeah, of course.
Yes, of course.
you try to skin the cat as many ways as you want, but ultimately, yeah, the creme de la
Yeah.
creme came to play.
Yeah.
And Liga in the
And by
chamber
the
is
way,
not
so I didn't claim that horse because it's not where I would run it, but that's a flip horse. Like, on a horse like that, claim it for 2.4, throw it right back into 5K where it's likely going to get claimed there, and just make a quick 2.6K and be done with it, right? Just make a quick double up
Yep.
and be done.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's that. Yeah, because honestly, whoever gets this horse, if they slap it in a 5K claimer next time,
It's
and it's got
automatic.
24 points already, it's going to get it should get claimed because again, you're already basically in the claim to fame at the end of the season, and then you can decide: do you hunt the low stakes? Do you take your shot at hitting the rising stars? Again, I personally would. I think what we've seen and what the horse has shown tells me to try that. But obviously, yeah, you got options. It's an easy 5K claim because you can turn around at 7,500. But you're in, or you can take it another way and try to maximize the value. So yeah, that was. I'm curious to see how many claims. I know at least 2 people had claimed that horse. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, silly me that Carter sends me the notes and I don't put a claim in it. Like I'm just lollygagging out here. What's going on?
Is that insider trading? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. I would have felt bad if I would have claimed it and he told me about it. So I just left it alone. Did not put a claim at all. But definitely somebody, if it wasn't Carter, whoever gets this horse is gonna be pretty much sitting like I tell people in the catbird seat because they'll be able to do everything that Beetlejuice talked about. Quick flip if you want to, or you can go out
Carter,
and
Carter,
uh,
Carter, Carter did get it. There was
yeah.
Big Boss Brothers and Wildfire missed out. So there's 3 people that tried claiming it.
There
And
you
Big
go.
Boss Brothers is another guy you see in all the claimers too. So yeah, easy one for Carter. And I would bet dollars to donuts that horse is going stake for next.
Yeah. So and he has pretty much nothing to lose because let's say if he goes for a 2.4 stakes or something like that. Well, guess what? The next race he could stick it in a 5K, get all his money back
Right.
if he didn't even make the poll. You know what I mean? So it's a win-win play. It's Carter, man. It's the smart people. I don't know if that was the last race you wanted to cover, Bryce, or if
Probably. No, that's a great point. Yeah,
Go-
yeah, no, that's a great point. You put it in a state. You put no. I love that point though. You put that in a stakes race that cost you 2,400 Derby to enter. Let's say it shits the bed. Okay, you throw it in a 5K claimer. After that, it's got 24 points in the claim to fame. Still showing some promise. Probably going to get claimed. And yeah, so you had a quote unquote risk free race, trying to take a stab at a claimer for points, and never mind the money in the stakes race for the points, and never mind the potential money payoff. So that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. I like the heart of the parents too. Kind of
Yeah.
stands
Yeah,
out.
and that's why I think stakes is the play to go with that horse because it has the profile where it's going to fit and is worth a shot, anyways.
Agreed.
for sure, for sure.
So
Anything else we want to
I
add?
want to pull up a race that runs in an hour and a half, and I'll let Ryan and kind of it's a almost a full field, 13 horses. It's the Hoofbeat Zigzag Claiming, and it's a 3-year-old plus. It's got a really interesting field of ages of horses who've ran lots. There's a horse who's never ran before in it and has a decent morning line odds. There's a lightly used YSM horse. So it's an interesting field. I would like the guys to kind of say what their kind of 5-second elevator pitch is looking at this race like, this is a horse I'm going to follow up on. It's a big field. It's a cheap claimer, and it's the 3+, so a lot of the horses have information. So I would love to hear their thoughts.
Let me see. Which one is it? The Daybreak? No, not the Daybreak. The
The Hoofbeat.
Hoofbeat. Hoofbeat Zigzag Claiming 1.2. All right. Low entry 240. All right. And again, all these races have, I believe, the same allocated qualifier points, right? Whether it's 1.2, 2.4, and so forth. Is that still going on?
That's correct. Yeah,
Perfect.
they all have the same points. It's it's one of those things that seems to be working well. There's certainly valid arguments to not have it this way, but I think it's working well because you're getting pretty diverse fields still, and it's pushing volume at all levels. I mean, we saw the higher price ones pick up late last season, and I expect that'll happen again as people protect, for lack of a better term, horses in this or other free rolls. But yeah, they all have the same points in them. So whether you're running a 1,200 Derby claimer or a 20,000 Derby claimer, you're running for the same points. So it's an interesting dynamic, and we saw high-priced ones and low-priced ones winning last season. So it worked well.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, loading up the tools, it's like I'm looking at this just from PFL perspective. You know, it's a fast race. I get drawn to stars. So I look at the stars, and then I'm like, also checking out the money line. I mean, that's really kind of like what you got to go off from this, or at least from a view like this. And the one that's like really popping off to me without checking anything else, it's like hanging. Let's see, and then I think the double nickel. And then, you know, it's like I'm going to start digging into like the podium percentage too. But right now it's like I'm already intrigued by the number 4 horse.
You like the 4?
Just looking real quick, yeah. I like the stars. I like the money line's okay. And the fleet figure is, you know, in line with everybody else here. I mean, this is a 10 furlong fast, so it's like, okay, well, my next question would be like, well, who, you know, where is this horse ran at? Has it ran at 10 furlong? What's going on here? How's the fleet figure looking? Are we trending upwards? Looks like kind of like we are. Just ran a 10 furlong fast, got second of 8, ran an 80 fleet figure, so that's good. I mean, there you go. 11 left dirt soft, 6 of 18, grade 3 race. Last season, season 32, got 6th.
That's the free roll.
Yep.
All right, so for me, I started from bottom up. I don't know why, but
Bottom up.
I like the 12. And if you look at it, not that many stars, but I still like what it's doing. If you look at the fleet figures, hasn't hit below 80 here in the last 3 or 4 races. So it's on a groove. It's on good. So even in soft, it's performing. It hit the 5K and it did okay, but what I like is that it's from Prince of the Alps, and that it's performing at a high fleet figure average right now with its last 4 coming in all above 80. The only one that was below 80 was claiming at 400, and it posted a 77. Other than that, it's been 80 and up for this horse.
And what's wild about that horse is it's 6 years old and doing that. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
I noticed that, and that's why I kind of steered away from it.
yeah.
Yeah,
but it's going right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan, you're prejudiced against the olds. I'm just going to say it right now.
Listen, you've enlightened me, but Jojo Spork might have like
Yeah.
you know, turned me
Robbie,
on. I don't know.
I'm with you on Robbie. I was going to comment on this horse, and then I'll flip it back to you to get your take on the rest of the field because it's a big one. I'm with you on the 12. I like it. The one thing that has me a little nervous is, the fleet figures are great, but they're all in 400 claimers. Mm-hmm. So Bryce talked about that earlier a little bit, and that the claimer fleet figures are a little inflated. So that's a little bit of a concern for me, but really it's 1.2K, so it's very low risk. It's doing nice things, and talk about, and I said at the beginning, I'm not going to hold anything back. So here you go. Here's a freebie for everybody.
Yeah, I know it's coming.
It's on perfect distance preference for the Geezer Stakes. Left dirt is 10 furlongs, and it's right there, and it's 6. I definitely put in a claim in on that horse. Not financial advice. Screw it. It's like what? It's like $15. Financial advice. Don't at me if you lose $15. Everybody should claim this horse, and then just run it on the Geezer circuit, and then run it in the free roll, and thank me when you podium or make money. Yeah, that's it.
Because
there you go.
That's the other point that
I knew where it was
going. That this horse has, again, multiple possibilities to make money. If it comes through here, it's on the board, it's good to go. But if it doesn't, you still have the geezer circuit going on right now. You could even put it in middle. I'm tempted to even say
Yeah,
middle
middle
age
age madness too. 10 furlongs.
You know what I mean?
Run them in both.
Like why not? Just because it's 6-year-old, it might just be going through the best it's to be right now. If you, like I said, look at the fleet figures. It hasn't. I don't think I have a horse that has started off, whether it's a 2-year-old, 4-year-old, that has posted numbers like this just back to back to back in such a short period of time. So why not give it a try, give it a whirl? So I'm just gonna roll with the 6-year-old, man. I'm with Beetlejuice, and it's geezer time. Let's go.
It's geezer time.
It's geezer time, yeah. So the other one would be like YSM, like if you like the track record of YSM, I forgot what they called them now, and SGPN had a name for them. It used to be the Evil Empire, but Kamish took over that. I forgot what they called them now. So it was a funny name. I'm gonna think of it. But yeah, I like that number 12 in this race. Why not?
Strawberry Fields. Just raw dogging it right out the bat with this
Yeah.
2-year-old horse up in here.
Yeah.
Decent stats.
Strawberry has a track
But,
record for having some great bloodlines as well. So again, and it's something that you might have been looking and been like, hey, you know what? I was looking at that horse. I wanted to breed with it so bad. I wanted to get a colt out of it or a filly out of it to breed again. And now you see it in a 1.2K. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna grab it. You just saved yourself
Exactly.
3,600 Derby. Why not? So.
Yeah, and we look at some of these horses too. I mean, this 4-year-old Zoom Star, it's got 13 claim to fame points already.
Look at
So
that.
what are we working with here? Who's this guy?
Yeah, and something to keep in mind is a lot of the bigger stables use claimers for cheap discovery.
Oh, for sure.
So they'll put horses in a claimer and hope to learn something about it really quick, and get it out of there before anybody picks up on it. So especially with the juvies, especially in the first week of the season, some people claim horses from some of the bigger stables blind. First race, let's just give it a shot and see what happens.
And a story that I have to tell that came up to my mind when you said that, Avalon Guard and SD Zhao. YSM, I think it was YSM, put in that horse, and I don't know if you want to look at it, but Avalon Guard was in a claimer, and he was claimed, and to everybody's surprise, it just revealed a monster, and it's been making money ever since. So those are some opportunities, and I think you're going to start seeing some SS minuses up there where you could take advantage of those opportunities again. Not so much now with the S pluses, but now that we're continuing maybe next season or the next season, those are some of the opportunities that you can go ahead and put it in your tool bag. But yeah, look at Avalon Guard. It revealed great, and he's just been, look at the ledger. Just look at the ledger, and it's crazy.
Oh, there you go.
Look, I don't know.
Bro, I pulled this horse, and I was like, "What are you talking about? This horse sucks."
Nah, look up how much it was claimed for, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a claimer horse.
Shit. Let me see. Marketplace only.
No,
maybe?
it was a claimer, so you won't see it in the marketplace. But it should have been right before claim refunded. So it was that last one. So summer.
1,200. Wow.
And it just took off. Like, the reveal made it what it was. And at that time, now you'd be like, there's better horses probably and here and there. But at that time that it was going on, like I said, you can implement this again probably in a season or two with maybe an SS minus being thrown in there that we talked about, some of them being in there at the 5. So I've thought about putting my SS minus, but this is what I'm scared of, right? That a big reveal gets popped up. And I'm one of those.
All I'm going to say is this. +4 reveal, money line, 1 of 16, 1 of 16, 3 of 8, 4 of 12, 1 of 7, 1 of 5. So, might be some secret sauce in that money line. I'm just saying. Who knows?
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's a great reveal.
Yeah. And one that he capitalized on. But yeah, I had the 12 there on that race. Which one did you have, Giddy up? On that
Dude, I'm going with the Thug Penguin. Penguin. Let's go.
Thug Penguin. Thug Penguin,
Back.
okay.
Let's go ahead and
Secretariat.
do it.
Yeah, Secretariat, left dirt, Secretariat. I'll be knowing the game and knowing where he plays. I would be a little bit skeptical of grabbing one of his horses. I would try to grab one of the YSM horses before I probably grab a Mr. B horse in left dirt. If it was right turf, I'm going with a Mr. B horse, and I'm putting my money there. But left dirt, I don't think he's that deep into it, and maybe trying to get rid of some of the assets. Not trying to FUD his horse right now, but like you said, if he has points and you see him with opportunity, that's why everybody has different success at different levels. What I like, you may not like. What you believe, I may not believe, and it's okay. You know what I mean? That's what makes it great. You know, a great player like
Yeah,
YSM
exactly.
put in Avalon Garden a 1.2K claimer. Like, it happens. It happens. So.
It happens. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna set up an alert on that old Thug Penguin. We'll see.
Thug
We'll see. We'll
Penguin.
see what this horse does.
Well, I think it was a setup. Bryce set us up to talk about it. Who do you like, Bryce? We're gonna close out with this race and what you like,
Yep.
and then have Beetlejuice say his word. See what he's liking. I know he's diving into it because he's trying to make a claim. I bet, and then we'll close it out.
Honestly, I cheated up and you guys hit exactly the ones that I thought you would mention. So that worked out great. Some different ones to look at. The 6 year old I knew would get hit. The YSM would get hit. Obviously, the stars and what looks like a decent enough horse out of Sweetwater. The one that's intriguing to me is Best Wish, the two that has never ran before. That Strawberry's throwing it in. And I mean, Strawberry, I know he's had a horse claimed recently that did end up podiuming in a major. It was the last year or two. So that one's interesting. But the one that I kind of am curious about is Double Nickel, the one.
Double.
It's
nickel.
4 years old.
Nice name.
It's podiumed in half its races. Now, it's been running. Last season, it ran really pretty decent in allowance races and some low end claimers.
Mm-hmm.
When I look at the fleet figure, the part that's concerning, the reason I wanted to point this out is when I trend the fleet figures, I start to see the decline. And this is why I'm pointing this one out, just because I wanted to show a good example of it. I think the horse has probably already peaked and is trending down. So even though the morning line odds in the race, is it the favorite or is it second? I think it's second after the YSM horse. This is the kind of horse that I would be a little tentative to go after. Again, successes in lower caliber races. I think it's one that probably could have been ran better last season a little bit. So to me, there's no reason it shouldn't have been able to qualify for at least one of the races. Actually, looking at it, I wonder if it didn't miss getting registered. But I just wanted to point this one out because, like I said, it kind of tells the story of what you're looking at when you're talking about trends in the fleet figure and how that something to look at with the horse. So all that said, all that long-winded was, yeah, you guys hit the three that kind of jumped out at me for sure. You see a big brain horse, you're gonna give it an extra look. You see some of the other stables in here, Dryden's always got good stuff in there, good money line. 20 races, won 6 of them, and no other podiums. So certainly one you could dig into there. But yeah, just this was an interesting field to me as I was looking at them. Eagle on the Rock, Gaucho's the 3 horse, 5 podiums in 8 races. This is
that was mine, Bryce. You took him.
Did I? Okay. Yeah.
I was hoping you guys would kick it over to me before that one got mentioned.
Okay, I'm going to shut up and pass it over to Beetlejuice.
That's the other one I had. I think that's one. I'm looking for horses that I could race in the High Court Classic. I'm not sure that that's one that can do it, but that one is easy to try because, like Bryce said before, you claim it, you run it in a High Court Classic. Okay, it fails, no big deal. kick it back into the Claimer series. It did well in the Claimer series last season on just a few races, qualified for the free roll. The free roll rolls soft. It's a firm horse. Still put up an 81 fleet figure. Didn't come in the money. But it's a firm horse on soft that ran a nice race. So I think it has it. Gaucho, you gotta give credit to the stables and to the names. They have the bloodlines. They've been around forever. The podium percentage is there. The morning line's pretty good. It's 1.2K. Even if it skunks it, throw it back into 1.2K. Right? Someone else will probably take a shot at it. And that's the other thing that I wanted to talk about really quick. Always pay attention when you win a claimer horse. Always pay attention to see if anyone else put a claim on it. And if it's me, you know damn well I'm setting an alert. And if you put that horse back in a claimer and I wanted it the first time, I'm going to want it the second time and I'm going to claim it. So always pay attention to whether or not you were the only person on a horse or if there was a bunch of people. And if there's like 5 people on it, I mean, come on, just don't. Just don't put that horse back in a cheap don't put it back in a cheap claimer. Maybe don't put it back in a claimer at all. But you have to pay attention to that. Just see. And just because you're the only person that's on a horse, that might just be a function of time or, no one was paying attention or it's the weekend and everyone's drunk. So just because you get a horse cleanly doesn't mean that someone didn't miss it. I miss a lot. I've got the alerts, but it's a 6-hour window and I ain't doing that no sleep thing anymore. So when I'm in my sleep window, if a horse is entered and runs, I give myself 8 hours away from the computer. So a horse can be entered, post, run, and finish, and I'll totally miss it. Just because I don't claim a horse doesn't mean I didn't want it. It means I missed it. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful with that. But yeah, the 3 I think has a shot. I think it's low risk at 1.2. Quite frankly, any horse like that is a no-brainer at 1.2. I think.
Nice. Totally agree with that. And you hit on something, Gaucho. You got to give him credit. I believe multiple Kentucky Derby wins for Gaucho, and you normally don't see his horses in a claimer. And this is one that you mentioned that when you see horses from a specific stable, you usually want to go ahead and grab them, because especially at this price, is just not available that often for you to just grab. That's like if you see, like if I go into a left turf claimer and if God somehow shines his bright light upon me and puts an absolute horsepower horse in there that's winning, I'm picking it. You know what I mean? I'm grabbing it. I see a lacy horse in there, I gotta look at it. Given horse, I gotta look at it. I'm talking about left turf now because that's what I usually specialize in. But in left dirt, I know a little bit about as well. And I know Gaucho, YSM, those boys are pumping out winners on a regular. So you definitely want to keep an eye out for that. Strawberry is usually not going to put out whatever out there. It's usually calculated what they put out there. So you want to take a look at those horses and those big stables and see if you capitalize on some of their oversights. You know what I mean? So thank you, Beetlejuice, for pointing that out. Also, that was a good tip. I got to point it out, where if you have put in a claim and you win it, and you look at everybody else that's claiming it, that could even give you an opportunity to go back in the marketplace and sell it instead of waiting for that next race. You know what? The next race is 12 hours or 24 hours and whatever minutes away. You know what? In the meantime, I'm going to see if anybody wants to buy it for 7.5. Nobody wanted it. I'm going to do it for 5. So always a good thing, too. I always try to do that. Like if I'm going to enter a horse into a claimer, I usually want to put him in the marketplace for a little bit over, just in case anybody bites, right? And then if it doesn't, then I was going to put him in the claimer anyway. So here you go. So
that's actually a good point, though. Like if I personally, I wouldn't be offended if I lost the claim for 1.2 and someone says, hey, I got this horse, I thought you had a claim on it. You want it for 2.4? I'd probably buy it for 2.4.
Yeah.
Right? If I thought it was worth it and I really wanted the horse, save yourself the trouble listing it. Just DM the people who you beat on the claim. Now you got to be careful. You can't be a dick. You can't be like, hey, I won this horse, suck it, right? But I mean, I think if you go about it the right way, and you're like, hey, I saw you were interested. We're all in this game to try and do well and to try and make money. And people make money in different ways. And sometimes people claim horses that they just think they can make a profit on. So why not? Yeah, I say, as long as you're nice about it, reach out to the people you beat on the claim and just ask them, how much do you want this horse? I'll sell it to you for, and just build in whatever profit margin you want. Damn, that's a good idea. I should start doing that.
Yep. Giddy up. Any last words before we get out? We've been at it for 2 hours and a half, chat. 2 hours and a half. Thank you for joining us. I know. I just want to shout out before I give it over to you and close it out. Giddy up. Mountain Mike, aka Gramps. Shout out to you, Hyperactive. Beetlejuice was in there, so he was double timing it. Thank you so much, Beetlejuice, for being here. Fully was here as well. We had Cody looking great in his PFP. Who else? We had here T-Merc, Rancho Coquis, Siberian Ian. What up? Go ahead, Giddy up. Give us the final words here for the night. Let us know where we can find your tool and all that good stuff, please.
Yep. No doubt. I mean, photo finish, giddyyup.com is my tool. There's a plethora of other good tools out there too. Bryce has some command in the Discord forum. Definitely checking on those. Use their tools, use their information. Use them if you can to make yourself successful at the game. Have fun. That's what it's all about. I can't believe people stuck around this long. If they did, thank you. It was good to get Michael Jordan up in here. Let us know some insights into how he's claiming and what he's doing. I'm definitely gonna re-listen to this. I learned a lot myself, so I'm gonna adjust some strategies. Steal all of Beetlejuice's claimers. And thanks for putting this on and helping grow the game. I mean, it helps everybody whenever we do stuff like this. And I'm gonna up the email alerts. Yay, more email alerts for people.
I just want to say I definitely want to thank you, brother. I think you're a great asset to PFL. I think what you do is great. You come in and talk about the game like you did today. I really appreciate it. Beetlejuice, cannot say enough. You've always helped me out. You've always been of guidance. You've always been there for me when I reached out. So I thank you. Bryce, again, putting up with every one of us in the community each and every day. Can't say enough about you. You know you deserve a raise each and every month. I don't care what Ian says. But yeah, man, I want to thank you all for joining us. We have over 15 people still in the chat. So that means that we probably have to come back and do it probably next month, see how the landscape has changed. I'm going to definitely go ahead and break this down into little parts, make sure that you guys can be easily digested by you, the PFL player, which will benefit the most from this. I'll make it into I'll make sure to have the bookmarks in there, the little chapters. Make sure I make shorts out of this because I think everybody will be able to benefit from it. I want to thank Carter as well for sending in his notes. I really appreciate it for everything you do, Carter, for the community. Do you guys have any other last words? I think I covered everything there. But again, thank you everybody for joining. Bryce?
Yeah, Robbie, I just want to say one thing. I don't mean to stomp on your closeout. That was a great closeout, but I think it's really important to mention. Everyone always talks about what a hard game this is, and they're right. It's a steep learning curve. There's a lot to it. Everything else like that. But I'm telling you, we see it time and time again. People can come in off the streets, claim a couple horses, race them the way they've been raced, and continue to race them. And you could come in and be successful inside one season. and do really, really well. And for anyone who's looking to get involved with PFL, I would recommend 100% just look at every claimer race, watch the races, watch to see who's doing well, claim the horses that you notice, claim the horses that you think, and I'm telling you, you can come in off the street and be successful in PFL just by claiming horses and continuing to run them into claimers. And you could build a stable that way. You could build a bankroll that way. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. And it really is the easiest, best, least expensive, most profitable jumping on point and onboarding. And I'm so happy that, they introduced probably a year ago the leaderboards, which really rejuvenated claimer racing, and then pivoted at the right time, I think, to the Claim to Fame series, which is putting, giving claimers a free roll. And people talk about Carter's a big advocate of it. About I think Ghost back in the day was a huge advocate that claimers should be more significant in PFL, and I think they're really onto something there, because I think claimers is the best way for someone to come in and get involved immediately, and I think it smooths out the learning curve so much, and it gives new players, it puts them on an equal playing field, and maybe even an advantage, because a lot of the OGs not really paying attention to claimers. You see some of the ones they're putting in there probably shouldn't be in claimers. I dare say that someone who wants to become a claimer specialist can possibly gain an advantage over some of the other stables who don't have the time or the bandwidth to really focus on it. And you could do really well. So I thank Bryce and the team for making the changes to the claimer series, and for really making PFL accessible. And if you're introducing someone to PFL or bringing them in, that's where you want to steer them. You want to steer them to the claimer series, and let them have at it and provide the guidance, and let them go from there.
And let them watch this video. Bryce, that was it for the night. Any final words that you want to say? Anything you got that is coming up that people want to make sure they pay attention to, maybe this weekend, as far as races they got to sign up for? I know we got breeding coming up next week as well, so stay tuned for that. I believe I will have a show before that. Any last words for you, Bryce?
You said everything I was going to, so I'm just going to leave it there.
All right, awesome, man. You heard from the best of the best, Betelgeuse. We have the best of the best from what you want to call it, the tools, the craftsmanship of Giddy Up was here, and we had Sangudo in the building. I want to thank everybody for joining again. That's it for tonight. Make sure you replay this, rewind it back so you can have way more success than I am right now. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night, great evening. Take care. Bye-bye. All right. Let me go ahead and stop the stream here, guys. I appreciate you guys